Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 193. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, along with Johnny V, back from Kansas, back to Wisconsin, back in the studio.
We are. Not nearly as much fun as some of the places that we were able to broadcast from this past week, but nice and homey, as they say.
This is no Brickyard 20, let me tell you.
It's not a Brickyard 20.
There's no calzone, there's no beverages. This is no Brickyard 20. And, of course, thank you immediately to Brickyard 20, who was our gracious host for last week's regular Tuesday night podcast. They also hosted an after block party on Saturday night.
They did.
Thank you for the good times over there as well, Brickyard 20. Great place to visit if you find yourself in Emporia, Kansas. So we are here tonight. Lots of people will be talking about a GBO hangover, so to speak. Hopefully in a very figurative sense, but it's been a crazy week, or it was a crazy week. It is a full week. We've, of course, discussed all of the countless things that are taking place there. You can still check out action even taking place on the GBO app if you'd like. So it's all out there. And tonight we'll be catching up with Dynamite Dana Vichy, who was not with us last week as he was not on site with us. So we did not check in with him. But then we'll check in with one Drew Gibson.
So close. He was so close. He played such a great week. He was off of almost everybody's radar. And he just came out lighting it up, played really well, just couldn't finish the job. Ran into that whole 16 issue on day 3, as opposed to the one on day 2.
Yeah.
The day 3 issue he had, and just couldn't seal the deal this time. But
no.
But a really great finish, one of his better finishes in one of the bigger fields that we've seen.
Most certainly. And so some may say, well, duh, why aren't you talking to our victors from the event? Well, we did have a quick conversation with Eagle McMahon, spoiler, Eagle one, with Eagle McMahon immediately when we opened up our show on Saturday night. It was before the award ceremony, so he hadn't even technically gotten his trophy yet. It was before that, so we had him come in. We talked to him. We got, I think, most of what we're going to get out of him. I believe that he had also done maybe a interview with Avery Jenkins on Facebook, maybe yesterday or today. So I'm sure he could go out there.
One of those Shield things.
Exactly, and I'm guessing. I also think I saw him talking to the PDGA radio peeps, Steve Hill, Sarah Lamberson, probably.
That's so true.
So knowing that Eagle's been in the winner's circle before, knowing that he's having a hot year. We figured we'd change things up a little bit, and I don't think Eagle's going to be offended by that. We're expecting to see plenty of him. So one of the ideas was, hey, we haven't caught up with Drew in more than a year on the show. So because he was so close, seems like a really good opportune time to check in with him. So that's what we'll be doing. And kind of a similar story on the women's side. Of course, Paige Pierce, still undefeated in 2018. Congratulations, Paige. But her too. We talk to her a lot, and it's not to take anything away from her or her accomplishments, of course, but when you win all the time, we can't have you on every single week. Well, we could, but yeah. And one of the other stories that's out there, of course, Emily Beach, she graciously also had even privately reached out to me, more or less saying, thanks for the chat and having her. We had her immediately following the event as well. She was one of the breakout stories and a breakout star on the women's side this weekend. Phenomenal play. We saw her finish in the top 3 at this massive field, one of the largest fields in FPO history. Just 19 years old, throws lefty most of the time. Hails now out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, sponsored by Innova. Just an all-around really great woman. And we're going to be seeing and hearing more from her without a doubt. But knowing that we just spoke to her on Saturday night, again, that was one of the reasons why we didn't talk to Paige or Emily. I don't want to sound defensive as to why or whom our guests are, but that was some of the logic. I wanted to kind of break it all down for you.
We don't need to explain ourselves to them.
We got amazing smashies out there. So we should start there. Johnny expressed it on Facebook. so eloquently. And if you're not on the Facebooks, I'll summarize and paraphrase and say the week was awesome. Thank you to all of our Smashies, whether you came up and said hi or a high five or bought us a drink or got a big hug, whatever the case might be. I didn't give out enough big hugs. I'm just going to tell you that now. Whatever the case might be, just thank you so much. We are so gracious and humbled and honored that so many people wanted to share their stories, like you said, share either their GBO experiences specifically or share or have a response to something we've said or done in a previous broadcast or podcast.
No one punched me, so I think we're doing okay.
Not yet.
No one at GBO clocked me.
That's true. In fact, one fine gentleman walked up. He said, "I'm backtracking through all of the episodes, and I found the guy from, I think it was episode 129 that made the $100 wager with you as to Paul Macbeth finishing outside the top 10 in 2017. Thank goodness I didn't. We didn't go double or nothing on that bet this year. But so just we've got Smashies helping us out doing research and legwork and our show notes for us. Couldn't be more flattered whatsoever. So thank you, and again, thank you. So many amazing people out there. All right, I think we're going to have Dynamite joining us here soon. Again, we'll be catching up with him. I'm excited more so than normal to check in with Dynamite because I'm interested to see what his perspective is from the GBO, knowing that he wasn't physically there, and he's seen and bidden to plenty of big time events, including World Championships. But when you're at home and you have to consume it through the likes of us and Jomez and Central Coast and Bobby Brown and Danny Lindell and all the media outlets that DD puts out, I think it's a very different experience. So we'll be excited to get his perspective. And Steve Hartmeyer, thank you for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat, Steve.
All right, let's get to him. One, Dynamite, Dana Vichy.
Boom goes the Dynamite.
Dynamite.
I feel left out, like I should be wearing a hat tonight. I got Dana.
And have facial hair. We're not going to wait on that.
Don't wait on that.
The hat you could go adjust. Facial hair.
I shaved on Saturday.
2 months ago. How we doing tonight, buddy?
I'm awake. What's up, dudes?
Not much.
Excuse me.
I was saying as we were transitioning over to you that you've been to plenty of big time events. You've played in them. You've excelled. You've not excelled, but you've been in the presence of really big events going down. GBO this year wasn't in the cards for you, but what did you see?
Oh boy. So I was excited day one to hop on the live stream and check it out. But you had a super card, a couple Discmania boys. The stream was bad though.
It was
unwatchable.
The Discmania boys broke it.
I quit and I didn't watch the next day, but you're damn sure that I tuned in on final round. That was exciting stuff. And you guys seem to have gotten your stuff together. Nice work, Johnny.
Thank you. We went over this the next day and some of the issues that we had. It was a little bit of computer issue. It was a lot of cell signal issue. Went out, upgraded some stuff, took care of that. Came back the next day, raring to go, and got things moving.
Good, yeah. You'd think after all these years you'd have it going day one, but I'm just a little smashy out here trying to watch some disc golf. What do I know?
Same here.
But no, same here. I did take the action in from home. GBO's it's a really fun event to go to. Over 1,600 disc golfers playing is insane. You guys, that had to be fun for you guys going around town and seeing everybody, because I can think back to going to events and a couple hundred people events and lots of people come up and say, hey, SmashBoxx, or whatever. But to have 1,600 in the small town of Emporia, that's just fun.
It really gave me the feeling of the old Combined Worlds, where you're walking around and you might stop in at a restaurant, and sitting to your right is like Ricky Wysocki and another pro. And right next to them is some advanced player who comes up and says hi to you and things like that. It really felt like that old school Combined Worlds that we have seen in the past. And we may see in the future now, from what we heard.
Huh. Wow. That's news to me, but yeah.
Well,
You didn't watch the players meeting.
Yeah, they're lobbying. I think lobbying is the best word. I don't think they're begging or pleading. It sounds like lobbying at the moment, strongly encouraging and lobbying for the idea of a Combined Worlds there in 2020. And from all accounts that I've gathered, there's nothing that's been officially said yay or nay on the concept. But I know Emporia and the team over at Dynamic Disc is very heavily lobbying for that idea. So, and if there's a place that we know can make it happen and pull it off, fair to say that Emporia is one of those very few places.
Yeah, and if they keep adding courses at the rate that they seem to be popping up, at least in the greater Emporia area, that's only going to do good things for their chances of having a Combined Worlds. Because you think about Charlotte just having 30 courses in the greater Charlotte area. No, there's no problem, with the amount of courses there. But I just wonder. I guess they handled 1,600 people, so what am I? But yeah, maybe a few more courses in the cards for them in 2020.
I don't know I don't know where you could, because everywhere you drive around that city, if there's an open green space, I think Eric McCabe has planted a basket there. I think he might have planted some in front yards that he just thought was a small park. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yep, they're on that hashtag grow the sport over there. They're doing good stuff, and it was fun taking it in from home, and I look forward to getting back to Emporia one of these days, one of these years. But tough timing with school, as you guys have heard me say time and time again. But let's go ahead and touch base with the A-tier side of things at the Glass Blown Open. Right. Pro Masters 40 plus. Joe Revere played some really good disc golf, won by 9 throws over Donald Ellsworth. Joe Revere 1057, 1020, 1065. So kind of some Joe that we came to know a few years back. He's still 1025 rated, still an elite player, but he came out and absolutely shredded this last weekend. On the 50 and up, Eric Rainey got the win by 6 throws over Mitch McClellan. Shout out to Eric Rainey. I believe he's an Oklahoma guy. Masters 60 and over, Jeff Hungerford got a 1-throw victory over James Schultz. Jeff, we've seen him out on tour all year. And then I'll do the advanced men and women. Benjamin Lauritsen got the win in advanced men. He did so riding a really hot first round of 1033. And then this number really jumped out at me. 39. It's the number of advanced women that played.
Wow.
39.
It's a huge field.
So it's a stacked field. It's got to be a record. Someone tell me it isn't. But Christine Jennings got the 2-throw win. She's from Dayton, Ohio, over Cynthia Riccati, who's from Columbia, Missouri. So Midwest holding it down. Pretty cool stuff, though. 39 advanced women. All over on the pro women's side, 36. So ton of women all around. Pretty cool to see. And it was quite the battle on the women's side. We've seen Paige Pierce. She's perfect on the season. And this weekend, you didn't see her name in first place until sometime in the third round. Was she winning going into the final round, Johnny?
Was Paige winning?
I believe Paige. Yeah, Paige had again a one-stroke advantage.
Yeah, one-stroke advantage going into the third round, but I believe that was actually wiped away at one point early in the round when Lisa started lighting it up and got real hot.
Yeah, it was a really close battle between really Paige and Lisa. Sarah Holcomb was hanging around too, but in the end, Paige Dunn did it. Got herself a victory, two throw victory over Lisa, and that it came down to the last hole. That last hole at Peter Pan. It's a short par 4 with a lot of out of bounds, and it's pretty good finishing hole for the women there. A lot of things could have happened, and Lisa ended up throwing out of bounds on her tee shot, and Paige was out of position and was able to just kind of pitch up and take the victory and do so easily after that tee shot. But Lisa kind of took all the pressure off of Paige there when she found the out of bounds. But great shooting by both of them. They capped off the weekend with 980 rated rounds. So the hot round on the FPO side. Jay Weezy finished tied for 4th with Emily Beach, who was a kind of a surprise to see up there on the lead card. And then for those of you that were tuning in, you saw her. She's a lefty player. You saw her bust out a righty hyzer. It was pretty cool, and it was a really smooth righty hyzer. Did you catch up with her and find out how often and what the story is with her being able to throw righty and lefty? Did she have an injury, or is she just?
Yeah, exactly that. We spoke with her between the event ending and then the awards taking place, and I told her, I was like, wow, what was going on there? And she said, yep, I had an injury a few years ago, and in order to continue to play, I decided to try throwing a few shots from the other hand. And like so many people you hear talking about that with injuries, they can't just put the disc down and not play disc golf. And it's a great opportunity that if you're not further aggravating or injuring yourself, by all means, try to pick up the disc and try it from the opposite hand. And you never know. Sometimes it just might make sense to bust it out. So that's exactly what she had told us about it.
See that scar? It's my right hand, and I learned how to play lefty. My lefty form is actually better than my righty form. I need to start throwing lefty again. I busted it out in tournaments quite a bit. Got some lefty aces, But
wow,
yeah, good tip there. And if you play a lot of disc golf, it's a good idea to go out and throw some lefty rounds to kind of even things out with your body. Kind of, if you're throwing a round a day or a couple rounds a day, get out there and throw lefty and maybe get yourself back on a level. Or righty, excuse me. Ashley corrected me.
Throw opposite-handed, yeah.
Opposite-handed, yes.
Well, and this dates all the way back. I've said this one other time. I remember when DiscLife.com was the prominent website talking about disc golf strategies and tips and interviews and such. And someone had injured themselves. I believe it was Brian Sullivan himself, and he said, go out and when you're doing that, even if you've been playing forever, and maybe especially if you've been playing forever, when you go out and throw opposite-handed, you're really thinking about your mechanics because you probably know what you're doing, but you're slowing yourself down and doing it correctly from the opposite side. And so when you said your opposite side, had really good form, those were probably exactly the reasons why, because you know what you're supposed to be doing, and you don't have bad habits already from that side. So that's why sometimes the form and the mechanics can look equally as good or even better. Because you're kind of starting fresh, but with more knowledge.
Yep, definitely. So let's congratulations to Paige again, saying perfect. I don't want to brush that under the rug. Want to give her dues. Killer stuff. Let's see when she's playing again. She might be. She'll be out in California for the daisy chains, and then of course doing that little West Coast swing. That's so much fun. So Paige, perfect. We'll see how much longer that can go.
Well,
it could go on for a while.
And last Tuesday, when I was sitting down with Sarah Holcomb, and we were talking about the FPO field and the competitiveness and what's going on there, and who's who can rise to the occasion, basically. But Sarah said, I don't think she's going to go undefeated this year, but as soon as she slips up, somebody else needs to be ready to go right there and step in and take over and take charge. And this weekend, there certainly was that opportunity at one point. Paige, admittedly said on Facebook, and we all saw it, her putting was off. She definitely experienced a stretch there where she was really struggling. And we saw Rebecca Cox right there in the third round. Then we saw Lisa Fakis and we saw Emily Beach right there. So we saw the women that were really close, but Paige, got it all together and then ultimately was able to pull away. And if you look at all 3 rounds, I believe, first round, she was not playing so hot. She finished eagle, birdie on 16, 17, and 18. Second round, she played poor by her standards, and then I think finished with a great birdie on the final hole to ultimately pull out in front. And then, as you said, it came down to the final hole or two against Lisa. She maintained it, and then under pressure was able to close the door or seal the deal. So I think the takeaway is the pressure it didn't seem to be a factor to her. She may not have been on, but when it came to those tense, high-pressure moments, she was able to maintain. And I think that is still a pretty big takeaway at the end of the weekend, and nets her yet another win.
It kind of surprised me that we watched her, if you go back on the live feed, you can watch her go for the peninsula hole out at Peter Pan. That's one of those, kind of like hole 16 at the country club, that can be a make or break hole for you. Because if you miss that peninsula, you go to the drop zone, and that's not a gimme. I mean, it turns into either a 2 or a 4. Paige hits that wood wall kind of thing, pops up, and just lands on the island, luckily. And props to her for going for it.
Yeah. It was
Yeah,
certainly amazing.
Yeah, and as this would have been a good weekend with her being off for someone else to jump in, but to keep in it and be off as she was on the putting green. Oof. It'll be something to watch.
And it also, to then further the point about her sheer overall capabilities, she had, by many standards, an off weekend and was still able to pull out the victory. And that's very much a compliment to her skills and where she has positioned herself right now. To have a not-so-great weekend of golf and still be able to edge it out certainly says something about how good she is. And before you move on to the men's side, I real quickly want to slightly backtrack. Jeff Hungerford, huge smashy, all-around just great ambassador and great guy, touring around, playing, I believe you said, in the 60-plus this weekend. He'll play wherever there's a division for him. PDGA number like 688, just the greatest guy. He said he had hit a 30-foot putt on the final hole to ultimately take down the victory by a single stick. So I'm thinking of pressure, knowing where things were at and what was going on. So, Jeff, congratulations. It's awesome seeing you play so well, and thanks for being a great guy. But hitting a 30-footer to win it and seal the deal for an event of this size, also very impressive. So congrats to him.
That had to feel good.
Yeah.
Excuse me. All right, the men's side. Really, one of the stories of the weekend, and it was Drew. Really stepping his game up, and I was pretty impressed. Wondering if he was going to be able to hang on, and then during that final round, he had trying to think of what holes, but he had back-to-back kind of tentative drives. One of them went out of bounds, and then on that oh darn, it used to be one of the, I don't know all the numbers of the holes since they changed them, so you guys will have to excuse me, but he went out of bounds on that par 4, got up and down, but what really stood out on that one was the drive. He didn't really commit to it, and then they go to that par 3 where everyone else parks it, and the same thing. He just didn't commit to it, and I was like, oh no, is he gonna kind of crumble here and drop out of the running, but he dug deep and was back in it until that fateful hole 16. But just an incredible battle, very fun to watch. Eagle holding off Ricky and Drew by a stick. Simon looked like Simon was gonna kind of shred like he did second day. He came out really hot and then didn't do anything. I think Simon's round 2, he was shooting pretty hot on the front and pulling away, and then had a triple bogey and all pars on the back. Where final round he went birdie to start and was in the lead, and then just didn't really do anything until he got hot and birdied 5 of the last 6 or whatever it might be to maintain his spot in the top 4, finishing in 4th place. But so with those guys, incredibly exciting battle. And then looking to that second tier, that 5th through 10th place, we had a lot of interesting things going on. Some of the young guns showing that they can play. Kevin Jones, who's kind of, I'd say, had a slower start to the season than I thought that he would have. I thought he was going to come out and we are going to see his name up at the top every weekend. But it's disc golf, and you have ebbs and flows, ups and downs. And this was a good weekend for Kevin. We saw him really finish strong there that final round with a killer birdie streak. Almost birdieing the whole back 9, if not the whole back 9.
He missed hole 18.
So that,
yeah, just 18. We were waiting for it. We were talking about it.
Yeah, but good enough to shoot a 53, 1070, get $1,500, finish in 5th place. Grady Shue, he's had an up and down season. Rookie of the year last year, but got back on track. 1071, 1014, 1056. Really good golf. Nate Doss. So much stuff to talk about. Nate Doss coming off the injury, playing really well. 1043, 1035, 1055, and then Colton Montgomery. He's on the lead card at the last Disc Golf Pro Tour event, and then here he is, top 10 at the GBO. And AJ Frisbee, he was 3 throws from the lead at some point on the back 9 during the final day. Just so many exciting things, and players and newish names up towards the top, even though those 3 of the top 4 really, if you don't count Drew, are kind of expected to be up there. But this is an exciting time for disc golf.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of young guns out there shooting well, playing well, kind of stepping up their game to hopefully compete with the Eagles, the Rickies, the Simons, the Pauls right now. So it's fun to watch. I got a lot of dirty looks from fantasy disc golf people, and people that came up to me and said, you know what, I went with Double G this weekend, or I've got 2 winners and I'm still negative points because I went with Oakley and someone else. So the shifting in players every particular week is so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
And unless you have them picked.
And we're gonna we saw Eric Oakley, he just snuck into the cash. Not his best weekend, but that's just some of those players like him, Grady, Kevin, AJ, we're seeing them up at the top, and then some weekends maybe down towards the bottom of the cash line, but with the amount of skill in their game to win one of these events or be at least near the winner's circle. It's making it fun, and this is a good time for disc golf, and I'm excited. Even when I can't watch it or be there. So
yeah, I was gonna say I'm really impressed with a lot of the team trilogy, so to speak, or Dynamic Disc sponsored players this week that finished well, especially AJ Risley, because a lot of them they're not contracted, they're asked by DD to come out to a lot of the events, the bonfires, the bowling, come meet the fans.
Bull riding.
Bull riding, as we saw Ricky do. And they're out doing that. And granted, they usually they're not playing until a little bit later in the afternoon, so they have a chance to recover, and they're not out really whooping it up. But their focus isn't entirely on golf like some of our other players. So for them to go out and enjoy GBO on top of play well, I was thinking that this week, like, wow, especially with like a Ricky and an AJ, who I think I saw AJ 3 or 4 times this week. Every time we were out, I turn around and there's AJ. So very, very, very much fun.
AJ was out getting it this last week, and that's pretty cool though. That's for all those DD players to step up and be there at all the events, and that's cool for the fans and for DD. That's how you grow your brand and grow yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So fun stuff. Anything else GBO related you guys want to mention before we maybe talk about another event or two?
The only thing that came to mind just a moment ago, and I don't consider myself insightful, so I'll throw that out there, but looking at not even just the conversation and the discussion and the drama on Friday's round on 16, but look at on Saturday what hole 16 meant for the entire tournament. Eagle parking it, Ricky going OB, Drew going OB. Ricky's round was otherwise blemish-free. Clearly right in the thick of things. Gets there, takes the 4. Mm-hmm. He ends up losing by a stroke. There's a 2-stroke swing on that single hole. Here's my question that will make me almost appear to be insightful. Is hole 16 at the GBO the USDGC's hay bale island hole 17? Is it the same? Does it end your GBO run? Is it the way to throw away the tournament?
No, just because that hole, you go to the drop zone if you throw out of bounds off the tee. So basically,
you shouldn't ever get worse than a 4. Is that what you're saying, or a 5?
Pretty much, you should never get worse than we'll say a 5 if you botch it, or maybe the wind's crazy and things are. But like 17 at USDGC, you can find yourself taking big numbers, and that's Lexi. Excuse me. But yeah, GBO. Like I remember talking about that hole a few years ago, saying why would you ever lay up on it, because it's basically you're gonna hit the green and likely get a birdie, or you're gonna pitch up and get your 4 from the drop zone. But I like what you're thinking there. But if it was I don't know, the chances for a large number aren't there at the 16 GBO.
Okay. Yeah, if they wanted to replicate that, they could make up some silly rule like you have to rethrow from the tee on one more time, and then go to the drop zone. And this year we saw something a little different on 16, where they had hay bales behind the basket with some signs. So we saw 1 or 2 people run it that hard, skip off the green, and hit the back, giving them a 20-foot putt. So it's not as difficult as it has been in years past, but a lot of players still either didn't make it to the island or skipped off usually to the left on the island. It was it's different. I'm glad personally, and I've made this before, I'm glad GBO doesn't do anything like that by changing the rules. The only thing they can improve on that hole is to put a line of some sort, string a line around there. As we saw on day 2, it can be a little bit give or take there.
Conversational.
Yeah, it can be conversational.
Yeah, his disc was out of bounds, right? It was this. We're talking about Eagles disc. It was on a rock that wasn't touching the island, more or less, or it was touching.
It's very hard to tell from the camera angles. And when I first saw it, and our cameraman first saw it, he said inbounds all the way. And I saw it from just where I was, obviously, 5 miles away. I looked at it, I was like, oh, that looks inbounds. Now, and we'll get into this with Drew a little bit, when Eagle picked up the disc and pushed around with his finger, you could hear him say water, water, water. And so that, when I re-listened to it, I kind of thought, well, yeah, it probably was OB. It was probably on a rock that had water going around it. And again, it was a group call. We'll talk about it a little bit with Drew in a little while, but I think that ultimately it sounds like the right decision was made.
Yeah, I didn't, other than a grainy picture, which I couldn't really tell, but I don't know. If the rock was touching the island and he was touching the rock, then he's safe. If it wasn't, then he's out. If it's too close to call, safe. There. Boom. Done.
Yep.
Roasted.
Okay, then. Well, on that note, Dynamite, do you have anything else you want to wrap up before we head over and talk with Drew about it?
Any other events? We want to fit in one more event here?
Yeah, you got anything you want to rifle through with us or no?
Oh, boy. I'll shout out a couple winners. Michael Johansson took down the Standing Rocks Open over Kale and Adam Hammis. One throw apiece. On the women's side there, Barrett White beat Haley King and Holly. But and then there was the New Jersey State Championships. Devin Frederick played some really good disc golf, got himself a New Jersey State Championship. And my last one, Victorian Disc Golf Open over in Australia. Patrick Robinson held off Simon Feasy for the victory. And there was a few other events, but when this has gone on long enough, I think I'd love to hear Drew's thoughts on everything, and I'm excited to see where this takes Drew. If this is kind of catalyst to shoot him up the ranks and put him on the lead card more often, that would be exciting to see. He can throw far, and he likes to talk. So let's hear him talk here, and you guys have fun.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you. Sorry you weren't there, but we know your family obligations come first. So hopefully we'll see you sometime soon somewhere, maybe the next few weekends, one way or another.
I got to give a lot of people hugs this particular week. Actually, it was nice. I said, it's nice actually seeing you and physically being able to touch you.
Yeah.
I hope I get the chance to touch you soon, Dana.
All right.
All right. Have a nice night, Dana.
Bye. Good night to your wife, too.
Oh, I love it.
All right. Dana Vichy with a little insight from afar. And yes, we've got Drew Gibson all fired up and ready to go. I think he just said, hurry up, dude. I'm not sure if he was talking to me or Dana. I think he was talking to me. But we'll get Drew here on the line. Again, it's been a while since we've caught up with Drew, so there I feel like is no better situation than to do it after this pretty crazy weekend that just went down, and I think we're ready for him. We can bring him in right now. Welcome, Drew Gibson.
The biggest villain in disc golf.
That's what we hear, Drew. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I know you had that conversation with Dixon a while back about who our villains are, and a lot of people were throwing you under the bus.
Do you fit that role? Are you a villain?
I don't think I'm the one to ask.
Okay. All right. Well, of course, congratulations. A great performance this weekend. It was exciting all the way down to the very end. And I'll just open with the question, is 16 anywhere near as daunting as 17 is at USDGC?
No, I think the first year I played USDGC, I took at least double digits on that hole. You can't even fathom taking more than a 4 on 16 at GBO.
Okay. So
you watch Simon in the second round throw it in or putt it in from the drop zone. I mean, anytime you put us players, or players in general, 70 feet away for a drop zone, you're not going to see very many big numbers, I'd hope. To where USDGC, you're re-teeing. I mean, we watch it happen to Johnny McRae, Will Schustrick, Steve Brinster, I'm pretty sure, myself, everybody at that tournament. But, you've watched that tournament, people take a 9, 10, 11 and lose the tournament because of it. GBO, yeah, you'll lose a tournament because of it, but you're not going to be up by 6 and lose.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Good clarification. So let's go through this in a chronological order. Kind of break down. I didn't talk to you during the week too much. Break down what was going right for you and how did things feel during your opening round. You were obviously you went out, shot one of the hot rounds. but you weren't on what was the Smashbox featured card, so to speak. So, some of those guys were, we saw them during their opening round. How was your opening round?
I started out 6 for 6. So I was feeling pretty good about that. Got to hole 7, threw a good drive, or actually got really lucky on my drive to stay in bounds. Got pretty lucky on my upshot, and then missed like a 15-footer. So it could have been 7 for 7, but I just played solid. I didn't do anything that bad. I didn't do anything that great. Just made my in the circle putts and just kind of went through the course playing pretty aggressive, but just kind of, I wouldn't say I did anything special. I just didn't really have anything that bad happen to me.
Okay, so you got through it relatively clean. Were you surprised about the numbers did you, knowing you were, say, on the lead card with that score, did that surprise you at all?
Yeah, it surprised me a little bit, to be honest. I didn't really, lately I've been trying to not look at my phone and, look at live scoring, especially, the first round, because I was it doesn't matter. I knew, as soon as I started the round, knew I was going to play. I was playing pretty good, so I was like, you know what, I'm not even going to look the whole round. I'm just going to see where I end up. I finished our round, and at that point, only Grady Shue was finished at 10 under, and I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. I don't really know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting to look at the score and be like, oh, wow, I'm tied for the lead right now. Obviously, there's plenty of great players still out there, but I didn't think I did anything that special. Normally at an NT, you got to play, if you walk off the course feeling pretty good to be up there in the lead card. But that tournament, obviously, all the OB, all that stuff, the wind, everything makes it a little harder to where, like I said, I just kind of played my game, minded my own business, and at the end of the round, I was like, whoa, I did it.
Well, and now it's funny you say that. For the first time, I'm looking exactly at your scorecard from the opening round on Thursday, and all birdies, as you said, started 6 for 6. All birdies and pars throughout. The one blemish, hole 16. What happened to you on 16 on the opening round?
I think I threw it backwards.
Oh, okay.
No, it was a weird wind, and I was in between the T-word I threw the last 2 days and the mid-range, and I thought the wind was just going to push the mid-range right. So I just kind of aimed left and threw it hard and threw it straight in the middle of the lake and walked to the drop zone, tossed my putter to 2 feet and tapped in. But it was just a wind mystery. I wasn't really, I just kind of didn't, just like Dana said, on that hole, I refused to lay up, because if you lay up and then miss the island, you're getting a 5.
Sure.
If you land on the island, you're going to get hopefully a 2, because the island, I don't think you can be outside the circle on the island. And if you miss it, it's just an easy 4. It's I'm not going to lay up and then get a 5, because it's then I basically could have threw away 3 strokes.
Okay.
So,
I love the logic there. It makes perfect sense to me. So we go into the second round, and you're on the lead card, playing obviously with these other guys that you're tied with. There ended up being 5 players that shot 10 under, and Grady Shue was left off the lead card just simply due to PDGA numbers. What do you feel like went right or wrong during that second round?
I just played. I made sure to just kind of stay in my own league on that round and just not really get involved with everyone else's stuff. Not kind of obviously I paid attention, but not if Ricky made a 50-footer, it didn't affect my putt, or if Simon threw it 6,000 feet like he does, I didn't try to throw it any farther. I just tried to play my game, because I knew that's what I did the first round. The first round, I played with Josh, which was cool, and then Steven Schroeder and one other guy, and I just made sure just to play, just do my own thing. So the second round, obviously I was with, Eagle, Simon, and Ricky, and I just did that. I was like, you know what, if you just keep playing your own game and almost just kind of zoning everything out, you're just going to keep playing well. So I just kind of tried to go out there with that same mentality on the second day.
How often are you on a card with 2 guys that can likely throw further than you?
Not that often. I played around the last round at Vegas, I think, or the second to last round, maybe the third round. It was me, Seppo, Kevin Jones, and Macbeth. So I was like, man, this is probably one of the farther throwing cards out there. We were all throwing it over 500 feet almost every time. But yeah, playing with Eagle and Simon is, as me being a far thrower, playing with them is impressive. Especially Eagle sidearm, my goodness.
Well, and that was the round during that second round where Eagle threw in for the Eagle on hole 14. What was your immediate reaction?
Wow. As soon as he let go of the disc, I don't know if you can hear it in the video or not, I literally just said bounce in. He threw it and I was like, oh, that's really good. And I could tell it was a little hard, so I was like, well, go in the basket. And it went in, and I was as cool as it was, I was less than shocked. I was like, whoa, all right.
Okay.
It was almost I knew it was coming. I was not surprised. you could see me in the video, like I was like clapping and just like staring, like, oh,
Okay,
all right.
that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah, he misses
Yeah, I
that
was like, all
basket.
right.
There's a good chance he goes out of bounds.
Yeah.
Oh, I made a joke on the next tee pad. Some guy was like, oh yeah, man, that was so awesome. And I was like, yeah, it's awesome. The basket got in the way. Like, that was sick. And then after the round, I heard Eagle in like an interview saying, like, repeating the joke, you know, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, it was just funny, like, how we all kind of like looked at each other at the next tee pad and like laughed about how Eagle was like, oh yeah, I would have went out of bounds.
Oh yeah, for
But
sure.
that, I mean, that's what it takes. I mean, you gotta out there to play that course, and that's. I mean, he threw a great shot, and you know, I don't know if you want to call it catching a break, but I mean, he definitely, like you guys said, he misses the basket 1 foot one way or the other, and it's probably up over or past that fence.
Well, and we all know some days or weekends, some things just can go really right for you. You throw enough good shots. Some very few might get a bad break, but more often than not, they get a good break, and that's sometimes what's needed to have a win on the weekend. You get one, and I'm by no means saying anyone was lucky, but sometimes the difference can be one break one way or another, and when things are all going in your favor, you card things like Eagle twos on hole 14. It was pretty awesome.
Oh no, and that's the thing is a lot of people have been like commenting on my social media. Oh, you got because the ace video is starting to really circle around the spit out ace video, and everyone's like, oh, you got so robbed. And I just like commented. I was like, you guys, I didn't get robbed. Like, I lost the tournament. Like I wasn't like out there like, oh, I'm gonna ace this 500-foot hole on a spike heist, or like I caught an unfortunate break, but Eagle played great the whole weekend. I mean, both rounds I played with them, he made clutch 50-footers in the win. Like it's not like I just got robbed and he lucked upon a win. I mean, he played great. It's like I've made sure to like tell everybody, like, hey, you guys, I didn't get robbed. Like, yeah, this is unfortunate, and it was a cool shot, and it would have been really awesome to hit it in that situation. But like, I wouldn't say I got robbed, because that to me saying I got robbed is like taking it away from Eagle.
Well, and to be fair, an ace. I mean, how far is that hole? Like you said, almost 500 feet. I mean.
You missed kind of like
Eagles. You
Eagles.
can have a 10-footer not stay in the basket that seems like it maybe could or should. I mean, it was a great shot, and it could have stayed in. But anytime you're throwing, and I think Eric McCabe said that, you're only throwing at 10 million miles an hour, but anything that comes in that fast with almost any angle on almost any basket, there's definitely a chance it doesn't or does stay in, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I threw it, and then I think you can even hear in the video, I threw it, and I let go, and I was like, I think I made it. Like, as soon as I let it go, and I got a good wind read off of Simon, because he threw it way wide, and I was like, wow. And he landed right on the pole, and I was like, huh. Like, obviously, I'm not saying like, I tried to ace run it, but I was like, oh, man, like, I learned from that. So I just threw it a little higher, and as soon as I let it go, I was like, I think I made it. And literally, I was just like, and where I was standing, the way it spit out, it went in, and it went out the back, so I didn't know it fell out until the gallery, like, cried for me almost.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm definitely it was thrown. I mean, yeah, what basket's going to catch it? Maybe an Innova 28, maybe a Mach X. I mean, the Mach X probably would have caught it, but
a Mach 1, like an original Mach 1 could have. Like, I mean, my point is, yes, some baskets are more prone to catch than others, given certain shots, but there is just a hair of luck there too, that to get something to stick in.
I mean, you hit a Mach X on that angle, hyzering down into the basket in those web chains, versus you hit. I mean, my disc went out of the basket higher than it came out, than it went in. Like, it went in like this and out over here. Like, it like went up. So, like I'm saying, I'm not blaming on the basket at all and blaming it on anything. I just, that was one of those things, like you said, that, to win the tournament, you got to catch a break one way or the other. And that wasn't a bad break, but it wasn't obviously the best thing that's happened to me that tournament.
Well, and just think about woulda, coulda, shoulda. Just think how the momentum would have been had that stuck. You walk away with that on hole 15 with the ace. Just think about what that does to your mindset and what it does to Simons and Eagles and Ricky. I mean, everybody in that group. Like, who knows how you guys would have walked up to that next hole on hole 16 and what how it would have unfolded. So.
Oh, I said the same thing as Steve Hill. Steve Hill was like, what do you think? And I was like, you know what, to be honest with you, it's not even the fact of the stroke. It's the fact of, like, the actual action, like the momentum of that shot right there. Like, I stick that ace. Everyone's walking down the fairway. Everyone's screaming and yelling. I just hit, a 450-foot or whatever ace. It's a whole nother vibe than just, oh, you spit out. Good job. Like, that whole tournament is uproaring right there in my favor. And they still have to go down there and make their, 25-foot putts. It's not like they all had, besides for Simon, didn't have tap-ins.
Yep.
you know. So it's like I'm pulling disc out of the basket, everyone's screaming and yelling, like it makes a difference. And you know, obviously people say, oh well, you lost by a stroke, and it's like that's not even my point. Like that's not even what like I'm like shoulda, coulda, woulda about. It's like okay, the momentum right there, like that stays in. What is everybody else thinking in the round?
I completely agree with you. So
You know, and that,
the very next, second round, the very next, real quick, let's put it to rest or put it to bed. Any of the conversation that was taking place regarding the OB call. Of course, there's some people that immediately thought it was inbounds. Plenty of people thought it was out of bounds. What was your mentality as you guys were walking up to the lie in the first place?
I was the first one there, like to the lie. And as soon as Ricky walked up behind me, he didn't even like blink and was like out of bounds. And I was like, before I could even really look at it to make a call, because it was obviously close.
Mm-hmm.
So I got down there and I was like, hey, let's look at this. And so I literally took my finger and where his disc was like on the rock, and the rock, to me, there was obvious water. And then Simon immediately just goes, oh, well, you know, not immediately, but benefit goes to the player. I'm like, this isn't a situation where benefit goes to the player because there's an obvious answer.
Sure.
Like to me, there's obviously water, so benefit doesn't just go because it's taken us a second to because Eagle obviously and his right is I'm safe because it's close. But to me, when there's obvious water, and so I took my finger and I went like this, look, water, like drew a line, like and put my finger out. I was like, look, that's water. Your disc is not, that rock is not touching land. I went all the way around the rock and showed this is water. And Eagle, and I told Eagle, I said, hey, if you can show me on this rock where you are touching dry land, I'll be happy to call you safe. I looked at my lie on the other side of the green that was safe, walked back, and Eagle had his disc in his hand. And I was like, what happened? And everyone looked at me and said, oh, he caught himself out of bounds.
Yeah, after you walked away, you could see him. He picked up the disc and he looked at the lie, and he was putting his finger in as well. And you could hear him say, water, water. And then and it's a little mumbled, so I don't know if he said anything else. But then he did. He picked up his disc and he went about his way. So
yeah, and that was my whole point. Is I'm not out there to call anybody in or out, whether my disc is safe, my disc isn't. Like that's a call where if I would have looked at that, I would have put my finger there and said, hey, I'm out, guys. Like period. But I don't. Like I said, Simon was pretty quick to jump to say, oh well, benefit, and I'm like, well, that's fine if we can't tell, but I think it's pretty obvious you can tell here. Like that's not a situation where you give the benefit. The benefit's when you don't know.
Yeah, the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, I agree with that. Just
the word is doubt. Benefit of the doubt. There was no doubt. The person that threw the disc said there was water, water, water out. Like, and that to me is enough. Like, hey, that takes some of the doubt away. And people were roasting me on social media. Oh, you bullied him, this and that. And I'm like, hey, I hate to tell you guys, but I'm not powerful enough to convince 3 other people and the person that threw the disc that he's out. Like, I don't think I'm that guy. And, you know, and like I said, Ricky was the first one. Before I even got down there to look and put my finger in the water, he was like, oh, that's out. And I was like, oh, let me look. And like I said, I was like, water, water, water. And I was like, hey, if you can show me where this rock's touching land, it's safe by me. And he, like I said, I walked away and came back and he was like, oh, yeah, I'm out. And I'm like, oh, I guess that was pretty easy.
I'll say this. I think the way you word it in this particular situation by stating, essentially, I think you're out, but if you can show me that you're not, I will then give it to you. I really like that wording, and I think it's fair to say you're not always the most PC or eloquent with your words. Is that a fair way to put it? Usually.
Oh you can say that.
Okay, you're a pretty straight shooter, and you're not afraid to be offensive or say exactly what you want to say, which I certainly can admire as well. But I love that wording that states, you know what, I think you're out, but if you can show me otherwise, I will gladly give it to you. And I think that very much is a great way to summarize it.
Yeah, I don't want anybody out there thinking, like, it's like defamation of my character for someone to be on Facebook who's not even there watching your guys' live stream or whatever, or your guys' commentary saying, oh, Gibson screwed Eagle over.
Yeah.
It's like, I literally told the kid, if you can show me where you're safe, you're safe. Like, I think you're out, but if you show me, I'll be happy to call you safe. And I would have, if he would have said, hey, look, I'm touching this right here. I'm like, hey, yo, you're right. You're safe. And it would have been that simple, but he didn't. He knew he was out. And I messaged Eagle after the round. I got back to the hotel and was literally getting blown up about how I screwed Eagle and karma and this and that. And I messaged you. I said, hey, man, like, I don't know what I did or whatever, but hopefully, like, this isn't an issue. Like, he's like, oh, no, like, I think the right call was made. It's water under the bridge. And I was like, oh, fine. And then the next day I was like, hey, and I asked Simon, like, hey, did I say anything wrong? And he's like, I don't think you did anything wrong. Like, and like you said, though, I mean, I've been known to say a few things here and there, but that was a situation where I was trying to be, like, more than fair.
And I feel, yes, exactly. I think that's a good way to put it. So,
Yeah,
well, of course, there's drama, and let me be the first to also interject. From a technology side, we in the booth, meaning Robert McCall and myself, could not hear anything that was on the course that day. Everything from a putt to a drive to the conversation. So at first, we were kind of just speculating what we were seeing, not realizing you guys were having a very in-depth conversation about it. So that was, on us in that, we weren't standing down. But we couldn't hear anything in the booth. So we were more or less just listening along and speculating. And
here's the thing,
yeah.
In my opinion, like for you guys who couldn't hear it and the people at home who jumped on me after not knowing the situation at all, there's 3 world-class players in me, however you want to word that. Everyone seems so surprised that I played good. But you think if it was obvious, it wouldn't have taken us 2 minutes to call him out. If it's obvious, you're safe. Like I've been around a million times where you're around water and you walk up, oh, you're safe. No questions asked. When it's that close, it's like people have to understand, especially you guys, that, hey, there's something going on here. It's not just cut and dry in or out. Mm-hmm. Like there's obviously some type of thing where it's a conversation. And you're right, the benefit does go to the player. But when there's doubt is when that comes into play. And to me, and Eagle admitted it, Simon, like I said, I don't know what, he just said, oh, benefit. And I was like, well, I hate to tell you, dude, but this isn't a situation where the benefit is just like that.
Sure.
Like, there's water. Sorry to tell you, but it doesn't just go like that.
All right.
But,
well,
and you're the only one that, well, not you. Your group is the only one that can make that call, and it sounds like the right call was made. So let's
yeah,
we can put it to bed.
Yeah, I think we made the right call. Eagle thinks we made the right call. I mean, I just think that the right call was made, and people who weren't there, like you guys who couldn't hear, maybe didn't get the full story at first. But
yeah, I mean, we could just see things, and then you guys were having that conversation, and again, you were in the group, and to clarify, someone had asked on the board what a spotter may call something or another. They were very deliberate to say, and this is common for a lot of big tournaments. Spotters are there usually as volunteers, but they're there to assist and provide a little bit of information and or guidance. The group ultimately has the decision more often than not. There's, it gets argued at some events one way or another, but the group ultimately has the decision to make the call, and that's exactly what happened here. So whether the spotter raised the in or the out or both flags, it doesn't matter. When you guys got up there, that's when obviously the conversation.
Yeah,
so just so everyone knows that as well.
That hole needs to have a string or a paint or something on
Sure.
it, because in the rules it says makes the island. Eagle's disc skipped 8 feet from the water. I mean, he never even touched the island. And it's like we were having a debate of if he's safe or not because he's on some rocks that's in some mud that's next to some grass.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like that hole is one of the they have thousands of feet of flags and paint, and they posted like videos on Facebook of Eric out there, bless his soul, walking miles painting. And it's like it probably would have taken 20 minutes to just paint a circle around that green and call it.
And I think you know this, Johnny and I know this, the level of commitment that they have to their events and to this event, that next year they absolutely will have it staked or roped or painted or all of those or whatever. This, or maybe the pond is, a foot higher or whatever, so water's more obvious. But some way next year they will make an adjustment that makes this absolutely crystal clear, so this can't happen again in future years. And
exactly.
if we know DD, we know that they're going to do exactly that.
Yes, no, this is one of the marquee events of the year. And like I said, me saying that isn't me complaining. Like, I appreciate Eric and every single DD person that made that event happen in any way, shape, or form. It's just like that's one hole where it's like, hey, there's painted all over the whole course. Why are we leaving this short? Like I said, the hole is you make it on the island. We're arguing over someone skipping 8 feet out in the water and like almost touching some grass and some land, and it's just like there should be a line here, and it's like, hey, you're either on the island or you're out of bounds.
Yep.
Because that's not even a hole where it's like, oh, you skipped off the island, you get to take it up there. it's just like, hey, you're either on it or you're not.
Yeah, well, I don't think anyone expected the or not part or the on or off part to happen. So next year they'll have it. All right.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they will. That's a great event, and they covered all the bases plus some. I mean, they had the last 2 rounds on the lead card. They had a golf cart just for water for us players on it.
Wow.
Like
Exactly.
I mean, they do go above and beyond for sure.
Ooh, is that a huge advantage? So speaking of advantages, there was a huge uproar, and we won't need to get into all that about the featured card that happened on the first day. But the argument behind the whole featured card concept is always, well, when you're playing with better players, you're going to play better, blah, blah, blah. So you played with Josh Anthon, who's a friend, and 2 other guys who I don't think are rated anywhere near where you and Josh are, yet you came in with the hottest score. Is it fair to say that no one else was really pushing you? You just played your game? Does that further the argument that anybody can play good anywhere and you don't have to be on a featured card in order to play better?
Well, yeah, I mean, anybody can play good anywhere, but I want to say, like, playing with Simon and playing with Eagle helps me because we all throw far. So they can throw a shot, and I can get a wind read off of them.
Sure.
To where me playing with Josh throws 450 feet and throws a flex shot. I'm like trying to throw Firebird Heiser on the same hole. So it's like me, Eagle, and Simon, we can get reads off each other and know, okay, hey, just like on the ace hole, like I told you, I watched Simon throw it way wider than I think you should throw it and swing right under the basket. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do the same thing. But if I would have thrown before him, I wouldn't have thrown it that wide at all. So, no, I don't think it, like, me, Macbeth, Ricky, and Simon playing together is like really going to just promote us to just shoot 1070s. But I think that there's certain times where having people that have like games or like ability can help you play well.
Okay, fair enough.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, like it's just I think that like I said, I played my own game and I practiced, so I knew what shots to throw. But like definitely in the last 2 rounds, having Eagle and Simon, throw in front of me, around me, whatever, and our up shots are landing in the same spot. So it's like I'm kind of getting wind reads the whole round without having to like be out there and like checking the wind, and it kind of helps to have somebody that has a likewise game playing with you.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be in prime position if I just played along with you. I mean,
oh yeah, we would be shredding out there. You'd be throwing your third shot from my drive.
all right, shut your mouth. So let's talk about you not winning big events again here. No, in all seriousness, you were in this position going after what would be the largest victory of your career. That was part of the storyline. Is Drew Gibson here going to step in and be able to knock down his largest event to date? So close, I guess. Are you primed? Are you ready? Should we expect to see you right on this lead card for the next one? Is there anything that you felt was a breakthrough or anything different where okay, by next weekend I'm ready to take down all these guys again?
I wouldn't say it was since the year started, the first event in Vegas, I got 5th. Memorial, I shot like 980 the last round and got 11th place. Waco, I got 7th place. I've played 10 events this year and been in the top 10, 8 of them. And one of those was a Memorial 11th, and then Jonesboro, I got 17th, tying with like Nate Sexton. Not like I played. It was freezing cold and it was snowing.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that like it was I went 30th, 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 second place.
Sure. Correct.
Me being like new to the lead card 2 rounds in a row, shooting back-to-back 1050s, that's good, but I wasn't amazed with I wasn't like I walked off the course every day and was like fist pumping, like I can't believe I did it.
No, and I don't expect that. I guess, again, part of the storyline was, you're obviously a really solid player. We've seen you perform well at a lot of events throughout all these, these last number of years we've seen you. The question is really, when's that really big victory going to come in? And I'll say you're at the biggest events with the best in the world. So it's not like that big victory is just so easy to just go out and capture whenever you want. But you're waiting for that big victory, and I think that was part of the conversation this weekend for sure.
Yeah, no, and I worked hard this offseason. Like it'll come, it'll be there. Like I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, USCDC or oh this or oh whatever. But like it'll come. Like it'll. I showed this week that this whole year I've shown like, hey, I'm right there. Like it. Not that I'm saying better or worse than anybody, but I feel like I'm right there. I'm not far away. I haven't been far away for years.
Mhm.
I mean, I had 2 decent, probably at best years to my standard the last 2 years. Switched companies, and I mean, I'm kind of right back to where I left off.
Well, and
Um,
that's got to be the next question.
It's obviously hard to put it this way, but was there any sort of extra motivation for you to get glass blown open after the switch from last year?
was there any motivation?
And any extra motivation?
Oh,
Yeah, it didn't
no.
matter that
Of course,
you were.
there's always motivation for you to win any
No.
event.
I was laughing. I was laughing at the question because that was literally like in my head every hole.
Okay.
Is like I wanted, like I had
You wanted to
something
stick
more
it to
prove.
him.
No, I didn't. I have nothing but love and respect for Rusco and the whole. I wanted to make a statement like, hey, look, like,
Yep.
you know, I'm doing it.
Mhm.
Like it's been a lot. Like I said, this year, like I feel like I've had a lot to prove. Like I went from 2015 top 10 at a major, cashing in T points, and then 2016 and 17 weren't like my best years. So it's like I left a fantastic company who does a lot for the sport, to go back to my home disc. And that was what it was. It was nothing other than, hey, I want to throw these discs again. And so to go out there and to like weekend after weekend prove like, hey, like, I don't like, this is kind of why I did it. It means a lot to me.
Well, it was. I think your situation, and then on a flip side, I see someone like an AJ Risley who had left his longtime sponsor to then go join the DD. Kind of obviously doing the opposite of what you had done. I think it just proves that there's very little. It seems like there's very little spite or animosity that's out there. Just some of our players are a little bit more comfortable with a company or the culture that they're aligning themselves with. And for you, there was a comfort level in going back and being with Innova. And I think that's certainly showing through along with your work in this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, the crew at DD, the whole Rusco, everybody else has been nothing but supportive. Texts every weekend. Like, I mean, before every round, after every round, Jeremy Rusco was the first one there to shake my hand and give me a hug. But I feel like some of the players on the team maybe took it a little too, like I did something bad or whatever. But I mean, DD. I mean, I talked to Rusco on the phone. I explained like, hey, listen, like this is where I'm at. I feel like I can maybe compete better for my career with these discs. And we split ways, no problems, nothing bad happened. I mean, I have nothing bad to say about the company. It's just I felt like I competed better with those discs. And if I would have went out there this year and got 30th place this whole year long, I would have felt like an absolute dummy. Not because I really had anything to prove or to lose, but just because I made the statement like, hey, like I appreciate everything you guys done for me, the opportunity you gave me, but I feel like, I play better with this product. So to go out there and actually like do it is, means a lot to me.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Is there, before we sidetrack, there's a lot of other funny randomness going on, and I'm going to go somewhere you're not even expecting in a moment. But is there anything else you want to wrap up to talk about specifically to the GBO for your GBO week?
No, I just want to thank everybody who went out there and watched, supported, messaged me, called me, like everybody who, I'm still getting messages and comments now. Oh man, great job. Like it's just awesome to see like the support and not see, like the people who actually are happy to see me play well. Like that means a lot to me. And from, like I said, from both companies, I mean, I've gotten a lot of support from all over the place. So it means a lot to me that people, care.
Okay, awesome. Well, again, great performance. It was awesome to see. It was a great battle, and it provided plenty of drama. It provided this great race in the national tour. It just everything about it was a lot of fun to spectate.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to go out there and battle with Eagle and Ricky and Simon and all of them more. Like that battle with Eagle. I mean, not that count Ricky out. It's not like Ricky wasn't had a chance or whatever. But even the day before, I mean, Eagle and I kind of pulled away from Ricky with 3 strokes, and Eagle and I were going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and it was kind of. I mean, the second day he birdied the last hole to tie me up. So him and I would say was like the kind of the battle of the weekend, not counting Ricky out, of course. But so I messaged him after the round. I said, hey man, I'm more than happy for you. Great playing, great putting. I can't wait to battle with you for the rest of our career. Like I look forward to playing against Eagle and with Eagle for a long time to come.
Awesome. Well, totally switching gears, because I know you've now been around the game. long enough, and you obviously came into it at a relatively young age, and then you've seen and been influenced by so many great players, being from California, and there's great players all around the country. This weekend, you're going to compete, of course, at an event, but a lot of the country is going to be focused also in Crown Point, Indiana, as the Tim Selinsky U.S. Masters goes down. Obviously, an event Innova is the large backer and supporter of. But knowing someone like a Johnny McRae, who you've been teammates with and competitors with, knowing someone like a Patrick Brown, who very much seemed like was a travel buddy and a little bit of a mentor to you off and on throughout those years, these formative years. Dare I ask, is there a prediction? Is there anything that maybe we should be looking for when I see McRae, Schultz, Feldberg, Patrick Brown, Ray Johnson, Rob Ryan, Don Smith, all as your top 10 or so signed up for the Tim Selinsky?
Wow. I think Ray Johnson has a pretty good chance. Not, obviously not to dog anyone else, but I've played against Ray and with Ray for a long time, and I think he's kind of new to the Masters touring type scene. I mean, he used to play, Vegas and Memorial, a few other ones every year, but I think they're going to be surprised by Ray.
Okay.
That's just my prediction. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and win by 10, but I think that Ray's going to, if he plays his game and plays well, I think he'll give him a run for their money. But I think Barry Schultz is playing pretty hot right now, at least from what I've seen in the tournaments I've looked up and whatever. I don't remember who it was on tour, was like, yeah, I was playing against Barry this winter. I think it was Jeremy Kling was saying he's playing better now than he was playing when he won his Worlds. So if that's the truth, then you kind of got to vote for Barry if he was out there beating Climo. And now he's playing better.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And again, Johnny and I grew up with him. He won every single tournament he entered here in Wisconsin until he finally went on the road and started winning all over the country and then ultimately moving away. But there's no player, I think to this day. Can you name a player that has a more smooth throwing form than Schultz? Can you think of anyone? Have you seen Schultz throw a lot?
Have I?
Yeah.
A more smooth.
That's just
Bradley Williams is pretty smooth.
Okay.
Yeah, Bradley's pretty smooth. Yeah, Barry has a beautiful drive especially with his rocks.
His drive and his lines are unbelievable. I mean, I played around with him at USCGC, and it was like I was, throwing it 50, 75 feet past him, and then here he comes right next to me. And I'm just like, and I'm throwing a mid-range in or whatever, and he's throwing just a beautiful T-bird shot, beautiful rock shot. And I'm just like, wow, like hole after hole after hole, I was impressed of because I kind of grew up after the era of Barry being at every tournament. Mm-hmm. There was a few years on tour where I never even met Barry Schultz. I knew who he was. He was like a legend. But I never oh, hey, hi, Barry Schultz, I'm Drew Gibson, nice to meet you. So it was like, I went a long time without really having that influence per se. I had watched Bradley, I watched a few other people. Simon has pretty good form. And I played that on Barry, and I was just mind blown. I was like, wow, this guy is phenomenal. So I would say that his form, the only person I could really put close would be maybe someone like Bradley Williams, but I don't know.
Yeah, and out on the board, Deanne Arlen with a great suggestion as a contender for smooth, Manabu from Japan. He certainly
Manabu,
is.
Manabu is a very good form.
Exactly.
Simon might vote for me, but I always tell him he's crazy because he is crazy. But no, his form and his, like I said, the first person and the only person that really came to mind for me, besides for maybe Manabu, but I haven't seen him play that much, would be Bradley. Every time I watch Bradley throw, I'm just like, wow, that's good form.
Okay. We've got to ask also, before we get to anything else, I've got to say, what are your touring plans and schedule? Because I think you've been pretty vocal about you're not a guy that really enjoys getting on the road and being gone for 6 or 8 or 10 weeks at a time. You like to touch base at home a little more often than some of the other guys. I think of your time spent with Yuli, for instance, and some of those longer trips. But you seem to go home and recharge a little more frequently. Break down your logic for everyone as to what your travel schedule looks like and why you've arrived at that travel schedule.
Yeah, I just always Yuli. That's that guy plays 40-something tournaments a year, and I would travel with him for 25 of them. But I would fly home. He'd still play 4 or 5 tournaments. I'd come back. I just think that if I'm out here too much, I just start to get burnt out, and it starts to not matter for me. Like, I'm like, oh, it's just another weekend. It's just another weekend. Like, I want to come out here, and I want to be like, okay, this is the weekend. Like, this is, like, what I'm here for. To where it's like, I feel like if I'm out here any longer than, like I fly home next Monday. So I get to be home for a week before Masters Cup. And then it's Masters Cup, San Francisco. So I'm going to kind of go back and forth. But I just feel like if I'm out here, it's kind of like Eagle. Eagle doesn't like being anywhere away from his bed for, like, more than 3 days, I think. But I can probably make it, like, I've been out since Waco. So almost, I mean, what's the dates on that? I'm not sure, but
Like March 17th through the 15th through the 17th. So
okay, yeah. So I've been out, almost 2 months, 6 weeks or whatever it is, and, like, this is probably about my limit.
okay.
Is, like, being away from, like, home for this long is, like, kind of where I don't want to be away much longer. But I want to feel like every tournament really has a meaning and not just it's another weekend. Like, my first year on tour with Yuli, I think I played, like, 33 or 35 tournaments or something. And towards the end of the year, like, the Worlds, USDGC, like, all that stuff, it was just like, well, here I am, another one in a row. Like, I never really got to, like, get a break.
All right.
But my schedule now, I mean, I'm going Nick Hyde, home for a week. I might go hang out the Daisy Chains tournament, and then go San Francisco or Masters Cup, San Francisco, Beaver State Fling, or Seattle, Beaver State Fling, and then maybe Missoula, Montana, and then Utah, and then I'm flying to Ohio. And I'm going to actually pick up Isaac McDonald, take him on tour for a few weeks, and play all the East Coast events, like the Disc Golf Pro Tour, all that stuff.
Okay.
All right, so we have to ask, as everyone's screaming on the board, and something we alluded to during our pre-show, a couple days ago, you announced a new logo, something that you had done by, was it? Do you know who specifically did that logo for you? Was that a
Boom,
Josh from Boom, and it was a combination of a lot of things that you hold close, that you like. It was based on the Corvette V. It had some bombs in it. It had your signature in it, and it kind of sparked I guess I kind of find it funny, online uproar about your logo. Can you explain a little bit about it?
we're not using it.
You're not using it. Okay, that's pretty simple. What was it, because of the uproar, or was it just something?
No, that's the people. When I put new logo, I think people thought like that was going to be like the branded Drew Gibson logo.
Sure.
Which that was just going to be on like a run of 200 discs that when I was with Isaac on tour, I was just going to sell. Like, it wasn't, and obviously that might not change other people's opinion, but it wasn't like that was going to be like my glasses and hair logo, where it's just like Drew Gibson was going to be a knockoff Corvette brand.
Do you still have that?
Like, hey,
do you still have that old
I
logo?
have the rights to it. Yeah.
Okay.
I still have. I mean, Dynamic Disc that was nice enough to like let me keep the right set logo, but I wanted to do something and not just put glasses and hair on everything. And so I was like, hey, let's make like a combination just for like 250 discs. So it wasn't like it was going to be a new logo that was on every one of my jerseys and everything. It was just kind of like, hey, let's make something cool that kind of represents me. And then people took it like I was going to start making a disc golf company called Drew Gibson and have a Corvette logo.
And only because I find some of these very funny, and maybe it's just me. I want to show the people out there.
You've seen some of the creativity people have run with in order to assist you. Has anyone reached out and said, "Hey, I've got some stuff for you"?
I like the Ferrari one. Not gonna lie to anybody on that. I was like, you know what? Like, that's pretty clever. I think the best part about this is that people read my Instagram post and spent their own time of their own day to try to troll me.
That's what I get.
Awesome.
That's what I get such a kick out of. We don't see a lot of this in disc golf in general, of creativity and logos being built, but just the fact that that a lot of people went out there to sit and troll you, I got such a kick out of, because it's such a funny little thing in our sport, and
yeah, people will do anything because they just have nothing better to do besides find something on Instagram and troll it. But those same people didn't comment on my post. They just took it to Reddit and just started making Burger King logos, which I think is funny. Like, I'm a troll of my own. So I don't dislike that they did that, but the fact that they took time out of their own day to get on Reddit and talk about how much of a copyright infringement it is just funny to me.
And
I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad you have nothing better to do with your day.
We've had discussions about different copyrights and things, and it's not unique to our sport. You can go on any disc golf thing and see there's a tournament going on right now, or maybe it just happened, with a Street Fighter logo with a fighter on it. We've seen Nintendo logos. We've seen movie logos. I mean, there's so many.
Is 20% different?
Yeah.
Like if it's 20%, so that the whole innards of that logo is 100% different, and the font on my name like isn't Corvette font. So it's like it doesn't say Corvette. Nowhere does it have a Chevy emblem. It's just the same shape.
I personally thought there was nothing wrong with it. It took inspiration from something you're a car guy that you enjoy. I don't know much about vehicles, but I did, like I said, I got a kick out of it. So you're saying you won't be using that at all for any fundraiser discs?
No, I'm not going to use it because I just don't need people harassing me about something that they don't agree with. It's not worth it to me to promote something that people are just going to go on Reddit because they have nothing better to do with their day. And I don't think just go eat a peanut butter and jelly or something.
It's the internet, Drew, and by golly, if somebody doesn't agree or like what you're doing,
they're going to tell you.
They have to tell you. They have to log in, and they absolutely have to tell you.
The thing is, they don't tell me. They don't say anything to me. They don't message me. They don't post on my thing. They just take it to Reddit and sit there on the computer and see how many cool logos they can make.
I didn't see that.
That's the difference. Is it's like if I see something, if Terry posts something, I'm gonna roast her right on his comments because that's how I do it. I just don't like, I'm gonna go make a meme of Terry and hide behind my Reddit name and post this. Like, no, if you have an issue with it, message me and use your real name and say your piece.
Don't post any videos on YouTube because they like to be mean there too. I heard. No, the Google
I heard Terry's fat.
Yes, I've heard that as well. Thankfully, somebody tells me all the time when they disagree with anything that I do. It's easiest to go right to the obvious.
Oh, Terry, thanks for the free video, dude. You're fat.
Yeah, exactly.
And their Instagram name's like Disc Golf for 48. It's like, cool, bro.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, I find it funny. It's like if I troll. I will admit I troll, but I'll troll with my own Instagram, my own Facebook. Like, I don't go on YouTube and troll. Like, I'll say it with my own name because I don't have a problem with that. Yeah. I just think it's funny that people are taking something that's not copyright infringement. They couldn't sue me for that. It's not. Yeah. They just, Burger King. It's just like, you guys, come on.
Yeah, if you're gonna make those logos, at least put them on Drew's page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Please send them to me. So we can laugh together and I can know your name for next time you try to tell me good luck. I promise you, the reason this makes me so mad is there was a guy that messaged me and ripped me a new one for something that I didn't do, and I had to explain to him the situation. He's like, I'll never support you again. F you this, F you that, blah, blah, blah. And I just was like, okay, man, like, sorry you don't agree. And then after GBO, he messaged me. And I was like, man, great job. I was really rooting for you out there. And I just put, like, pointing arrows up.
Like, look at our previous conversation from a year ago.
Yeah. No, and I've gotten, like, a few of those, like, Instagram, F you this. You shouldn't think this way, that. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I don't argue with people really. Like, it's like I'll reply, but I'm not going to F you back or whatever. But yeah, this guy literally cussed me up and down the block, told me I'm the worst person in the world. And then after GBO, he's like, man, I was really rooting for you. Great playing. And I just put, like, pointing up arrows. I'm like, hey, man, did you forget about this? Or
maybe he converted. He converted.
You changed him.
Yeah,
changed him.
He's like, wow, man, you threw it far out there. I'm your fan now.
You influenced him to change his mind. So
hey, that's good. I want to influence everybody to change their mind if they hate me for over an Instagram post.
All right, Drew. Anything else you need to share with us from this week? Off the course, maybe I'll lead you a little. Off the course, what was the most fun or the biggest memory or the best moment off the course for you this last week at the GBO?
The bonfire is always pretty cool. Like that. And this year we were at that little more open area, and we were playing catch with a dog disc that I was throwing through the fire. Like, everyone's like, I was throwing it, and everyone's playing catch, and then they're like, throw it through the fire. And I was just ripping this dog disc right through the middle of the huge bonfire, which is pretty cool. But just that whole event in general, to me, like how you can have that many disc golfers in one place, one town. I don't think I went anywhere before or after my round where I didn't see somebody. Like I didn't see a disc golfer. I didn't see someone with the DD hat on or an Innova hat on or whatever. Like everywhere I went the whole week, it was just like so supportive. And even before the tournament, oh man, good luck, pictures, everything. It was just so crazy. Like you couldn't go to Applebee's without, seeing 20 disc golfers.
Yeah, you
So
really you need to be careful when you yell at somebody in traffic there because it's probably a golfer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you don't honk your horn and get road rage because they're gonna follow you to Peter Pan and probably try to fight you.
And they're on the
card behind you.
Yeah, they're on a couple cards away from you. I honestly I did think about that. I got a little frustrated when I was driving through that massive traffic jam it wasn't, but
Six cars.
I was driving through Emporia. There was someone that did something really dumb, and I for a moment I thought, oh
Is
yeah,
that me?
I'm gonna completely keep my cool here because it's probably a golfer from somewhere.
Yeah,
but,
and
you should anyway. But
and they're like wearing a Team Trilogy hat, and they're gonna go troll every one of your posts for the rest of your life because you honked at them for not going on a green light. They're like, Terry Miller bullied me forever. But no, that event, just like not even just the bonfire, just the everything they do. It's just like it's such like a welcoming place. You go. I mean, I went to Walgreens, and the lady's like, "Oh, good luck." She doesn't really probably know much about disc golf. She just knows we're in town for it because she's never seen us before, and there's 13 people in the whole town.
Yep.
She's like, "Oh, I've never seen you before. You must be here for disc golf."
She's like, aren't you the guy I trolled on the internet? Good luck out there today.
Yes.
Yeah, hey man, aren't you the one I told to F off about 3 weeks ago? Yeah, dude, Knuckles, good luck out there.
Check this out. I took the Granada logo and I made it say Drew Gibson.
Yeah, you'll never believe all the cool stuff I did with the time I had all day.
Country club 3 rounds, and there's a 2-part question. Are you good with going to a large tournament and having it be just one course? That's the first question. And the follow-up to it is, are you good with playing the country club for all 3 rounds? So one course. Are you good with going somewhere and just playing one course for the whole weekend?
Yeah, I enjoy it. I think that the changes they made to that course, like Eric McCabe, whoever helped redesign it, they did great. Like making hole 1, that par 5, just like it really sets the stage for the tournament. The gallery out there, like the first day, I wasn't on it, but seeing those people out there was like mesmerizing. I mean, the first round of an NT and having maybe 1,000 people, I mean, would that be a good guess, out there supporting, screaming, and yelling was so awesome. That venue was just like perfect for that stage of disc golf.
Okay.
And
that kind of answers my second question kind of already then. Yeah, you're good with that course specifically for 3 rounds, or would you like to see anything else?
Yeah, I get to throw it really far every single hole. So I like that course.
Of course, okay.
Because I can miss all my putts and I can still shoot good. Yuli messaged me and he goes, I didn't even think it was possible to shoot 10 down out there. Then I watched the video of you doing it and you missed all your putts. I was like, yeah, I missed a lot of birdie putts, but I had a lot of tap-ins. But no, I think that course plays to my strength. So I'm sure some people out there in the open division, whatever, are like, heck no, I don't want to play there all 3 rounds. And I personally like Jones East. Mm-hmm. But Jones East is like shoot in the 40s or shoot yourself out of the tournament. I mean, the country club kind of plays more to my style, I guess you could say. Like, throw it far, hopefully make it. If you don't, you still get a par.
But there was still, and to be fair, though, there was still plenty of danger out there. I mean, you're not just wildly throwing wherever you want. You yourself, you can throw far, but you still had to have some legitimate control out there. Is that a good way to put it? Oh,
yeah. I mean, and I actually did a Ulti-World thing today, and the guy's like, oh, what do you think your best, trait is? Now I told him, I was like, I don't even think it's my distance. I think it's my ability to control my distance.
Okay.
I mean, Dana mentioned, like, I had those 3 holes in a row where I leaked it left out of bounds or was heading out of bounds. But other than that, like, me going back in my head all 3 rounds, like, I don't think I threw very many errant shots. And I was throwing a lot of really, powerful shots. So for me, I would just say that, like, that course for me, like, plays into my, like, power range. I can really rip it, 500, 550 plus feet, but still be, like, very accurate with my shots.
Well, I think that sounds like a pretty good recipe for success at a place like that, because I think that's one of the inaccurate criticisms. People think, well, it's a golf course event, and therefore just the longest thrower is going to win. And you if you have power, well, sure, but they assumed they assume like that right from the get-go. And of course, having power has an advantage out there.
As it
but
should.
It's not as it should. But it's not the end-all, be-all on that course either.
I mean, you can chip around that course. I mean, I played a practice round with Josh, who, like I said, throws 450 feet, and I think he smoked me down out there.
Okay.
And I mean, we both played decent. Like, I mean, it's not about who throws it the farthest. It's about who throws it the most in the middle of the fairway.
Exactly.
I mean, like I hate to say it, but look at Garrett. Garrett throws it just as far as anyone out there, and normally is known for being very accurate and having very crisp shots. But obviously, the course got the better of him that week. Which if I had a fantasy, I would have not expected that.
Yeah, he disappointed a few of us.
Disappointed a lot of people, that's for sure.
I would have definitely put Garrett up there in the top 5 for sure with his power and his touch. I mean, I've played with him. I don't remember where it was, somewhere this year. Oh, at my home course, and he was just throwing these lines with that glow rock 3, and I was just like, "Whoa, you're impressive, dude."
Yeah.
Like, I again, Garrett was one of those people, kind of like Barry, where I went on tour at the end of Garrett's kind of run. So I played, 3 or 4 years now without really ever playing against or competing against Garrett. And I've been a far thrower. So people always, I wonder if you threw it farther than Garrett in his prime. And I was like, hey, I don't know. I've never really seen Garrett throw. And then I played with them, and I was just like, whoa, like, you got it, brother.
Yeah, very impressive to see. And he's another one of those guys we're catching up with this year, and we're watching him ease back into his own. And we're going to see his rating continue to climb. We're going to continue to see him on lead cards and featured cards. And I think finish higher and higher just about at every event. And like you said, he may have struggled this weekend, but you certainly cannot count out Double G for top finishes moving forward.
And I think
he's proven. Go ahead, Johnny.
I think we were pretty lucky with this course in that the wind wasn't really that bad for Kansas at times. It could have been so much worse.
True.
There was a few. It looked like there were a few shots that were a little scary during round 2 due to some wind, but ultimately it wasn't horrendous at any given point like we've seen in the past.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've played in Kansas where literally your shirt feels like it's going to blow off. You're just like, like out there, you can just like fall like this and not fall over. And we got pretty lucky this year. It was beautiful weather outside, and it was not Kansas windy. I mean, it was windy for California,
Sure.
but it wasn't. I mean, you weren't out there like, oh man, I need to putt with my driver. Even though I might have done better with my driver, but who's to say?
So you have a few opportunities to clean it up around the green. Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, I think so. I think I can make it a few more times.
Are you doing anything to improve that? I mean, are you trying?
Yeah, I've tried to do something for years.
Suck less. Try to suck less.
Hit more putts. Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried. I promise you, it's not a lack of effort. I putted at Devin's house for hours and hours, and was in the backyard making it every time. And I get in the tournament, and I get like Nico-itis or something. I just can't get it over the rim.
Huh.
It's like I don't get it. I'm just like, oh, here's the rim. Here's my putter. Wham! I'm like, get it over the. I hit the basket every single time. I don't think of many times where I really airball. But like I just can't get it into my head. Like, hey man, if you just put it a little higher, we'll make it in the target. Like I just can't. I'm like, okay, you see that little thing that's like this big? Yeah, hit that every time and get really upset. That I just have it in my head like that.
Have you thought about taking longer? Maybe that'd help.
No, I don't know if that's like a slow joke.
Well,
it is, but not for you particularly.
Yeah.
But I think it's there. You said Nico, and that's.
Oh well, I don't. If he took any longer, I think he wouldn't putt it. Like he would just stand there and hold it, and they'd be like, "Where's Nico?" Like, "Oh, we left him on hole 1. He's still standing." Like, wait, I thought he was playing. He was leading the tournament. Like, yeah, I know. He's still on hole 1. He'll be fine. We'll go get him later.
Nico, speaking of which, are you going to hop on the Nico train? May 1st, today, he was Instagram or Snapchatting. He went out for a 5-mile run. He said he's getting serious and taking control of his health and his body and his strength and conditioning. And he was out there run, just busting off a little 5-miler today. Is that a game plan in store for you?
Hello?
I think that's a no.
Hello?
Okay. Me either.
Yeah, we know.
Wait a minute. What are you trying to say?
No, I don't know.
I'll get my Corvette and drive around for 5 miles.
No. Just make a logo of like something that you shouldn't, because then they'll roast you for it.
Good call.
I think it's awesome that like people who sell like fit tees are the same people that roasted me about my logo. It's like, hey, aren't you selling weight loss on Facebook? Like, leave me alone. but no, I think that, I mean, hey, if that's what Nico thinks he needs, then good on him. I don't think, Eagle, can he do push-ups? I mean, not bagging on Eagle, but like, I don't think this game is about like who can run the farthest or who can jump the highest. Like, if it was about that, Avery Jenkins would have, I don't think he'd lose to this day.
Well, no, let's be fair. First of all, this might sound weird coming from me. Nico's ripped. Like,
Nico is ripped. He's unbelievably ripped.
Beyond ripped. I've seen him at big-time events warming up days before the tournaments, and the guy is just shredded. He's ripped. I don't know what kind of workout he thinks he needs, but maybe it's just speculating. Maybe he feels like a little bit of that conditioning or stamina, type endurance type stuff, like we just saw from Eagle and Simon. Maybe he just feels like that's part of the winning recipe or the winning strategy.
I found it really. Go ahead, Drew.
Johnny.
No, you're the guest. Go for it.
Fine. I tell people, because people like consider me in decent shape, at least for a disc golfer. People, I get messages, what do you do to train for this or that? And I think that just being in like overall like athletic shape, it doesn't really, I don't think it helps my game. It helps me throw farther or make any more putts. But I think that it just like, at the end of the round, I'm not fatigued. Like, I'm still throwing it just as far as I am on hole 1 as I am on hole 18. If that makes sense. Like, I think Nico's maybe trying for a little more longevity and not, because I talked to him a few times after the rounds this year, and he's like, I just ran out of gas out there. And like you saying, the guy is in fantastic shape. I've seen him drink smoothies that looked like he just scooped the water right out of Fountain Hills, and I'm like, that's disgusting. Don't drink that. And he's like, oh no, it's a meanie greenie, and I'm like, that's a meanie. Put it in the trash now, please. That's gross, bro. But I don't think that, like, from what I know about Nico and what I've talked to him, is I think he's like kind of running out of juice out there. Towards the end of the round, mentally and probably getting a little tired, and that's probably why he's trying to get these jogs and runs in, because I think that's where he thinks he's losing his strokes.
Okay.
I've heard him a few times this round go, I just can't finish a round. I think kind of maybe what happened to him at Memorial, what was it, the third round, where he just like putted it out of bounds, putted it low, rolled. Like, I think maybe that was just him not mentally, not physically being all there as he was on hole 1.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see. We know he's still passionate, and not to totally shift the whole conversation, but we know he's still passionate, and it was just something I saw happen today, and he said May 1st, and it was a starting point, and we'll see where it goes, and if it's successful for him, then maybe then you'll drink some of that meanie greenie and get on board.
Oh, if he starts winning, that meanie greenie is going to be my best friend. I'm sleeping with it. Meanie Greenie and I are going to become homeboys.
I was going to say before, speaking of fitness and stuff, we saw Simon at the Players Q&A. There was a question about physical fitness, and then there you've got like Paige and Paul and everything, and Simon was kind of like, yeah, I did that whole thing. I know what I need to do. I just don't care.
And he doesn't care. That's the problem with Simon. He doesn't. Not the problem. That's
his attitude.
Yeah, he just doesn't. He truly he doesn't say that because he wants to people think he truly doesn't care. Like, truly, he in his insides, he doesn't care.
I'm totally with you, and I just thought that was a really funny way of phrasing it after this big thing they did in the off season for him to publicly. We have it online. You can go and look and come out and just say like, yeah, I just don't. Like, it just doesn't. I just don't think it took. Like, I think it helped him out. But ultimately, I don't know if it's something he's going to continue with throughout the season. Like, I think an Eagle may do that.
Oh, Eagle, he was out there before the rounds. At least the last round, I watched him out there, like, doing this underwater water aerobics looking stuff. I don't know what he was doing, but he was doing it. I thought he looked like a frog or something, but I asked Macbeth, and I were standing there putting, and I'm like, can you please explain to me what he's doing over there? And Paul looks at me and goes, we'll never know. But it was like, I was like, what is he doing? But hey, it's working for him. The kid's playing great. Obviously, I think they went to Switzerland. Is that right?
Yes, I believe that's right.
Yeah. Obviously they both came out firing this year, playing well. So I guess you can't knock it till you try it. And I haven't tried frogging before my round before.
Just follow him around, mimic him for a while, and I think you'll be all right.
Drew, is there anything that are you misunderstood in any way? Is there anything you need to clarify? And this is completely generic. I'm not pointing at anything at all specifically. Is there anything ever that you feel like maybe people misunderstand or are confused about when they think about Drew Gibson?
I mean, you could probably answer that, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
Just think people take my joking a little too serious, or take my whatever I say a little too much to the heart instead of understanding like that I'm either joking around with whoever or I'm not. I'm never really trying to be malicious. And I think people think, like, I see comments and posts all the time, yo, he's such an, a-hole this, he's that, he's a jerk. And it's just like, if you ask people who, honestly, I feel like if you ask people who really know me, they're not going to tell you that. But these people who don't know me and only read these like Facebook stories and get on Reddit, they all decided to hate me. I had a guy from someone messaged the whole Eagle thing was roasting me, and the guy, I guess, was just like, oh yeah, I was totally on his side, blah, 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 but now I see your side, like after watching the footage, and I was like, but why were you on his side? Like, what? And he's like, oh, well, he's my friend, and he told me that he didn't like you. And I'm like, that's the problem, is like, one person has an opinion, and they tell their friends, and their friends don't try to find out the real story. They just try to, they have their friends back. That's like if I told you, oh man, Felberg did this, and you didn't ever talk to Felberg about it. You'd be like, oh yeah, Felberg did this, and you tell your friends.
Yeah.
It's just like, I feel like people just kind of take what I say or what I do a little too much to the heart sometimes, which I'm never really trying to be malicious. Like, I don't go around like, oh, I'm just going to be malicious today.
Sure.
Like, that's not really on my agenda.
Well, and I think that's a fair way to put it, though, that sometimes people don't know the extent of your joking or your jovial nature, and then maybe they take what you see or they take what you've posted, and from there just extrapolate on that. And, again, they maybe take it in a direction that you didn't originally mean it. So that's why I ask if there's anything that you're misunderstood.
The problem is, like, and I guess this isn't a problem, but it's like LeBron James can go out there and say the most asinine thing you've ever heard in your life, and he's never going to have to deal with it, because there's going to be all these people that are, oh man, you're the greatest ever, you're, support that thing, this, that, and the other thing, and the 4,000 people that hate it aren't going to say anything. Sure. They're going to probably post a tweet about him, he's never going to see, no one's ever going to see, it's not a big deal. In disc golf, it's like, I had an instance where DD where they literally were like, hey, can you get on Reddit and like comment and like defend yourself? And it's like, you get put in this position where the person that posted the Reddit form took what I said out of context, and it's like, I'm put in a position to like defend myself on something that I didn't even do wrong. It's like, it's such a small, tight-knit community where it's like, someone can take what you did in a bad way, then you have to sit there and apologize for them taking it in the wrong way.
Yeah, I'll agree. I mean, there's that catch-22 in our sport. We love that we're tight-knit, that our top professionals are approachable. A little podcast like ours can have the best players on the world on any given week, and we have access, and all of those things are so great. But on the very flip side of that coin is, okay, you say something, it might hit home a little bit harder, or it feels like it can, because we do have that access, because it gets back to you so much quicker. Like you said, LeBron doesn't need to care about it, but in disc golf, all of a sudden you've got an entire club in some state you've never been in that hates you, because they took something else, some other story for
took their Corvette logo.
Yeah, exactly. So I know exactly what you mean.
They hate me. Yeah, it's just like I said. I think I'm probably misunderstood a lot of times, because like I said, I'm never trying to be like, I'm maliciously going to make fun of Terry for being fat. Mm-hmm. Like, I love Terry's fatness. It's cute.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I think that like saying I'm misunderstood is probably like a fair. That's why I laughed when you said it. And like, yeah, you could probably answer that, because I don't feel like I'm ever out there being malicious or being crazy or being the villain. But I feel like the story that people paint about me from a previous instance that they maybe misunderstood or whatever kind of promotes me that way. And at a certain point, it's like, if I sat there and defended myself against every single person that had like something negative to say to me about something that like I didn't do, I would spend my whole day defending myself for no reason.
Yeah, you don't have time for that. Well, and it was interesting. I heard think it was an interview with Steve Hill from PDJ, and a question he made to Paige Pierce, and Paige is like, I think the synopsis was, or the recap was, basically Paige says, I post on social media, I make a post, put out information, and then I log off. She's like, I don't have time to read or care about everyone else's, opinions as to what they think I should be doing. And I think it's tough to do, but I think that's ultimately the best approach.
Well, the problem is like I said, with LeBron or Tiger Woods or anything, they can do whatever they want. And that message is never going to get read by them. If I post like the Corvette thing, if someone would have actually messaged me about it instead of just posting on Reddit, I would have seen it.
Sure.
So it's like it would have been like, hey man, this is why I did it, and explain myself. And maybe they wouldn't have been on there just roasting me for no reason. But that's the thing, is they jump straight to these forums where like I won't see that stuff ever. Mm-hmm. I don't search my name on Reddit every day. Like I don't. But like if you message me personally and say, hey man, like I disagree that you did this and this is why, and I can message you back and say, hey, well, this isn't why it's like that, then it would be, oh, hey man, maybe it's a misunderstanding, I'm sorry. But instead it's like, these people in disc golf, they do it to you guys, they do it to me, they do it to Macbeth, they do it to everybody. Macbeth loses one turn up by a stroke, and he sucks, he's washed up. It's like,
he got married, his wife. I blame Hannah.
I blame the dog.
Yep.
It's like, he has a puppy now, he just can't birdie. It's like, you guys get out of it.
He should have bought a bird. Clearly, you need a different pet.
Duh.
Yeah, dude, buy a cockatoo or something. But like I said, it's just disc golf is so small, and it's like everybody, and they know it. They have such access where they tag Ricky, like the whole foot fault thing. For weeks, people tag Ricky, tag Ricky, because they know Ricky's going to see it. And they're going to get like a reaction of some sort of explanation. And it's the same thing with me. Like people know that if they tag me on Facebook, I'll defend myself if that's not the way. And I'll also take responsibility. I mean, you guys have probably seen me do it. Like, hey, yeah, I messed up. Sorry, guys. Like, I didn't mean to portray this, or I didn't mean to do this. But people don't give that chance and just take something that someone, just like the logo thing. Take it to where it wasn't me being malicious trying to knock off Corvette. I mean, I own a Corvette. I was like, oh man, this would be a cool idea for 250 discs, whatever. And then it turned into like, oh, Drew Gibson has no creativity. And then they're like defacing, like, boom, like, oh, well, this guy doesn't. It's like, dude, it's not like that. But they don't give you the chance to not make it like that. But and they do it to you guys. I mean, I read the comments on YouTube. They do it to you guys too.
They're mean to us.
They missed the graphic.
No one's mean to us.
They missed the graphic on hole 16. It's like, yeah, they're also making a free video for you to watch and eat popcorn on your couch.
Exactly. The internets are mean sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it just sucks that, like you said, I feel like more than half the time I'm just like misunderstood of what I was trying to do. It's just like the whole post. I'm not even gonna talk about it. Never mind.
Okay.
Next subject.
All right.
We're done.
Yeah, we're done with that. All right. Drew, I think it's been quite insightful. It's been a while since we had you, so I'm really glad we did. Great time to shout out any sponsors, supporters, Corvette fan clubs, anyone you need to thank.
I think you changed a few minds. Both people who liked you don't like you now, and
yeah, they hate me for sure now. It's just like done.
and the people who hated you, some of them maybe like you now.
Yeah.
So
I would consider that a win.
Yeah. No, I just want to thank Annabelle for everything they do for me, not only on the course, but off the course, the support. My Leopard 3, just everything that they've done. They welcome me back with open arms. I want to thank Boom and Supreme Flight. They're both supporting me with clothing this year and custom discs. I think Supreme Flight still might have a few left if you guys want to go check those out. I know that the discs actually with the Corvette logo were ordered, and so we canceled the order. So whatever my Boom stuff is will be coming out later in the year. I'll be having hats, clothing, all that kind of stuff as well. I'm going to try to get my website going. I'm going to try to do like a male side and a female side. So if you have any ideas for that, feel free to message me on Instagram or Facebook, and I would love to hear your input. But other than that, I want to thank you guys for having me on the show and giving us players an opportunity to talk about certain things and to explain ourselves or just do whatever, kind of give us a alley to, talk to the fans and the people.
All right. Well, we're glad to do so, and we really appreciate all of our pros and ambassadors and tournament directors and supporters, anyone that gives us their time. I know the entire disc golf community appreciates it, that you guys are so generous with us, and we hope to continue it. So we'll let you go.
I have one more thing.
Yep.
This is a funny story. So I was being a troll, of course.
Yeah. Go on.
I bought a Grip 6 belt in Vegas. I left my belt at home. It was the first time of the year. I walked upstairs, and Grip 6 was there. So I go, hey, I picked out a belt, whatever. Well, I've had a decent start to the year. So after GBO, my first post, I posted all my stuff over on the very bottom. I put, hey, Grip 6, what does your boy have to do to get a sponsorship?
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, like the next day they messaged me and said, oh, you ask, you shall receive, like email Kevin at blah, 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 blah. And so I messaged him, and so I actually just picked up that sponsorship of Grip 6.
Well, congratulations. That's great.
Very nice. Very nice.
So it's me, Sexton, and Germ. But yeah, it was like almost like a trolley, like a funny thing. And then it turned into like them messaging me and being like, oh, hey, like you ask, you shall receive. And I was like, not expecting. It was more of just like, hey, I'm wearing this thing all year. But it turned into like actually being a pretty cool thing.
I am not
So make
putting,
sure
I'm just, disclaimer, I love seeing Grip 6 involved with the game. They're supporting the Pro Tour. They're supporting a bunch of our pros. I'm not putting your name or face or logo anywhere near my crotch anytime soon. And that goes for you, Sexton, and Germ. I'm just throwing that out there.
You're a bully, man. It's not like anybody sees your belt anyways.
Hey-oh. All right, I'll give you that one.
No, I don't know. I'm trying to think of I was thinking about putting like that Burger King logo right on the front of that bad boy just for you.
There you go. There you go. You got to love a croissant wedge.
Well, Drew's coming out with his own belt. There's going to be called Drew 6. And it's
No, it's gonna be Grip with 2 spaces. So they don't know if it's the bad company, and then the 6. So they don't know if it's the bad company or they're just gonna be really confused.
it's a good idea.
There you go.
Yeah.
You got it.
And it's gonna have a buckle, not just a little looper duper. So it's gonna not be a total knockoff.
I think you should just take the Reddit logo and put it right on there. That's where all your fans are.
Oh man, I love Reddit. Those guys really hide behind those usernames. It's awesome.
You know they do. All right, buddy. We appreciate it. Congratulations on a great weekend. And we'll be right there watching and filming and tagging along. I'm sure when this big victory does come along, and I know it's due, and we'll probably be seeing it sometime soon.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys. Are you guys going to be at Nick Hyde?
No, we'll be at U.S. Masters, as we just kind of touched on a little bit. So it'll be exciting to watch all the action unfold. That's just a couple hours from our house, so we'll be excited to be down there taking that all in.
Awesome.
All right.
Hope to talk to you guys sooner than later.
All right, buddy.
Thanks,
Take care.
Drew.
All right. You guys have a good one.
Thank you. See you, buddy. Again, Drew Gibson.
Trolling you.
Trolling me.
As he usually does.
Yes, that's exactly it. Good old Drusif, as I like to call him. Never short on insights or opinions or troll-like comments.
It sounds like he's a big fan of Reddit.
yes. Anyway, and again, without sounding like complaining, I understand where he's coming from. It's really frustrating. And I know someone said earlier, what is this, an interview about how the internet works? It is frustrating because someone like a Drew or us or all the people that work so hard in our sport, I would say like 98% of them have nothing but the best intentions to try and work really hard to provide really great things for the disc golf world. And it's obviously it's frustrating because we are such a small community that then people can take it upon themselves to just rip and shred whatever efforts that are out there. And of course, it's not unique to the disc golf community, but when we're such a tight-knit community, it's really obnoxious to see. It's too bad. So
I'm on Reddit all the time, so.
Yeah, you're one of those.
I am one of those.
Anyway. All right. So off the board, checking in on a few things. I hope we covered pretty much all of the comments, or if anyone had something insightful, as always, I usually take it and steal it and twist it and possibly reword it into a question. But it was great talking to Drew. Hopefully everybody got to know him a little bit better, know where he's coming from, and what we can expect out of him moving forward. Like I said, there's a big win in him somewhere. It's just, when is that breakthrough going to be? And this was as close as we've ever seen in the past. So we'll see if he can duplicate those efforts.
I think all he needs is, I mean, clearly, like he said, that these early season courses, the longer, more open courses, favor his game. So, and as we get throughout the year, we start moving more towards the East Coast, where you're not seeing those wide open shots. You're seeing a little bit more, as some people say, shot shaping, more woods golf, things like that. So hopefully, he can shoot any golf. It's just a matter of doing it.
Yeah, we'll see how he performs as the year continues. Again, a really great start, and something that was talked about leading into our podcast, or our broadcast, a few days ago, was, when is the last really big or the biggest event that we've seen him. And I don't know if it was you or Robert McCall that did the research. It's been a couple years. He won an A tier, I believe, out in California, in his home state, and that was what we've seen from him. He does play against the best of the best week in and week out, making wins that much more scarce and hard to come by when you're going against that, Wysocki and Macbeth those fellas.
Now Simon and Eagle.
And everyone else, but it'll be great to see.
Yeah, Chris Rodriguez, we're going to get to that in a couple seconds.
We are. What does Chris have for us?
Chris is talking about the courtesy call from Joel Freeman.
Okay, so wrap all that up. Thank you very much for joining us, Drew. What else? A little bit of drama, a little action out there. What did you hear?
There was some drama out on the course. Go figure. It wasn't it wasn't anything crazy. So more or less, there was a group in front of Joel Freeman that had some slower players on it. And at one point, Joel comes up, and Joel's relatively new on the scene. So for him to do this, I think took a little bit of guts and said, hey guys, I'm going to warn you. You guys are going slow. You need to speed it up. I think a couple holes later, still going slow. He goes up there and he warns them again. But this time it should be a stroke. Unfortunately, someone that's not on your card can't stroke you for this. You need a second on your card. So I believe someone on the card actually seconded Joel's warning, or second warning, so to speak, and ended up stroking some players on the card. And my understanding is there was a little bit of jabbering back and forth. It ended up getting sorted out, but there were some people who took a few penalty strokes on this particular event. And I'll hand it, like I said, I'm going to stand up and applaud Joel Freeman for doing things that not a lot of other people do, because it has to happen. If you see someone going slow, playing slow, then you need to call them out on that.
I concur, and I'll go as far as saying I heard rumblings of something of this nature possibly happening, but for me, there was no confirmation for it, so it definitely slipped into the back of my mind. It's interesting to see, and one has to then think about, I don't want to say fallout, I think that's too strong of a term, but will there be any residual effects of any kind going into the next tournament, any hard feelings, those types of things? It'll be interesting to see if there's any of that there shouldn't be, because, of course, like any other call, a call should be a call. It should be made on the course for all the right reasons, with all the right intentions, and then it's hopefully should be just dropped and moved on. It's all in the spirit of fair competition. But unfortunately, again, we're that tight-knit community, and you see a lot of these same players week in and week out. Hopefully there's nothing that, carries over to the next event. But I have to agree, if there is ever a situation, no matter who the players are, if there's a situation, especially of, we'll say, habitual time violations, it definitely needs to be addressed. And like you said, hats off to Joel, if it was him, in fact, that recognized this and brought it to someone's attention. I very much applaud that.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Someone asked who was on the card. I think it was a card with Philo and Nico on it.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's the card directly in front of him. It was 2 or 3 in front of him. I'm not sure. That's what I've heard. I can't confirm that part. I know that there were some penalty strokes handed out, so I'm sure you could maybe check on UDisc, and that would probably tell you. I'm not going to bother pulling it up at this point, but I could imagine that being a slower card if that's the case.
Which is interesting. And I've reached out to Matt Kruger, who we spoke with a few nights ago as we wrapped up the GBO, and I was going to try and confirm exactly that with him to see, because I'm interested as to how they handle that on UDisc. Of course, you can enter in penalties, but what well, I'll say an interesting thing you have to do when it comes to marking that in a UDisc capacity. And it's so shocking that Matt's actually not on the board. Normally, Matt would chime in right now and be able to give us the exact details or information. But well, that we may have to table this one and bring it back another time. But yes, that's what we were looking at. And real quickly, somebody said Steve Dodge on the board. Well, Steve experienced not only his first ever national tour this week. He didn't perform amazingly, I think is a fair way to put it for him. But he did celebrate his 50th birthday on Sunday. Maybe that's his big win on the weekend, was instead making it to his 50th birthday on Sunday. So happy birthday, Steve Dodge. All around great guy. Seth Steinway had said stroke doesn't seem like the best terminology. No, it technically should be listed, and even on UDisc it says OB/penalty. Excuse me. That's a situation where exactly that, you're stuck 6 feet 6 inches in a tree, and they're playing by the 2 meter rule. For instance, you're right. That's not really a stroke. That's a penalty at that point, as opposed to throwing it out of bounds. Lots of different ways to look at it. So, Robert McCall is telling us Nick Wood, Joel Freeman, Chris Clemens on the card behind them. So,
all right.
I don't know. Well, again, we'll have to get more details, but we heard of the story unfolding, and to be fair, if it in fact did include a Nico LaCastro and or a Philo, I don't think anyone in the internets would be shocked by that. Unfortunately, they're somewhat tagged as two gentlemen that challenge the 30-second rule violation, or the 30-second throwing violation. I think that's somewhat common knowledge if you're at all have followed them along. So very interesting. All right. I think that's about all we got here for now. For official business on the podcast, I think we can get into some after show conversation and fodder, and maybe some other things that we saw at the GBO. And of course, interact more with what we're seeing on the YouTube chat board for anyone that's got questions or wants clarification from the weekend. We'll be able to do that as well. So I would like to say, make sure you tune in for the after show. Of course, that's where our Patreon giveaway will take place. We appreciate anyone. If you support us at any dollar figure, you are immediately eligible to win for our weekly prize drawing giveaways. We'll be doing that sometime in the after show, as we always do. I'm actually pretty much up to speed with our giveaways these days, maybe with the exception of last Tuesday. Other than that, I think I'm pretty close. And if I still owe you something, or we owe you something, certainly reach out to us. Don't do it via email yet. We'll talk about that in the after show. But anyway. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much. We said it at the top of the show. The outpouring and the support and the graciousness of all of you while we were in GBO, or maybe you weren't there and you were still taking all of the action in from afar. So many of you are patient and supportive and kind and accommodating. And occasionally you even give us your raw, unsolicited feedback, and we appreciate those for the most part as well. Thank you for doing all of that. So for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, along with Dynamite Vichy for his updates, and Drew Gibson, our featured guest tonight, thank you guys so much. This has been podcast number 193. We'll see you in the after show when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SmashBoxxTV podcast 193 after show. After GBO.
I like that.
That would have been clever. All right, welcome. We are here Tuesday night. It's about 11 o'clock Central Time. Just want to give you guys a little more follow-up. We, in the regular show, had a conversation with Dynamite Vichy as he experienced the GBO from afar. And then, of course, we had Drew Gibson, one of our top finishers at this year's Glassblown Open, Emporia Country Club style. And certainly a huge talking point throughout the weekend, understandably so. We saw on the women's side a very different approach in that the women ultimately played 3 different courses, playing over at Cottonwood Falls, Swope Park, playing at Peter Pan, where they wrapped up, and then playing at Jones East in the middle, as opposed to the men. All 3 rounds at the country club.
Do you think it's, and I'm going to throw this in quotes right here, unfair that the men get to play one course 3 times and the women have to play 3 different courses? And the reason they do it is because of pool sizes, to be fair, that you can't, the men fill up one full pool, the MPO. The women do not have that depth in their field, so you can't dedicate an entire course to them. Now, you, at least an entire pool, you'd have to maybe create a separate pool and shift others around with them. It would be very strange and it'd be very difficult to do. But what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know if fair is the right word. You said, do I think it's fair that they had to play 3 different courses? I mean, all 30, ultimately 36 or 37 women in the division all played the exact same courses.
Of course.
Of course. So is it fair now? Now, could someone make an argument? Well, does that favor someone who's local to Emporia versus someone who came in from the Northwest and had to practice 3 courses? Well, there's a very different question. I think it's fair they played they played 3 different courses. Yeah. Is it ideal? I'd be interested to hear the reaction from, if you polled those 36 women. I'm gonna guess that they would.
Would they rather play one course 3 times, or do they enjoy playing the variety of courses?
Yeah, I think you would have to ask them. I will say.
Why can't you answer for all 36 women?
Yeah, because if I could only know what 36 women all collectively thought, this would be a very different world.
I think that's a Mel Gibson movie.
Yeah, I think it is. Oh, wouldn't that be great, though?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably it would be. Anyway, I would be willing to bet that the majority of at least the touring pro women would say, it's not ideal because we had to practice 3 different courses. It also partly depends on your overall attitude and outlook, I think, depending on how competitive you are. We've said for many years, you look at an AM Worlds, for instance, and AM Worlds for many years has been marathon golf times 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different courses. And I remember when I was playing in an AM Worlds, I was like, heck yeah, I'm traveling somewhere and I get to play 6 different courses.
I felt the same way.
That's awesome. 6 new courses, under my belt or on the log, whatever. And now our sport has very much transitioned into the more serious players, the more competitive players, the players that are definitely there to win are thinking, I'd really like to dial it in on like 1 or 2. So I think we've seen that transition throughout the last few years. Good question as to the FPOs and how they feel about it exactly. Now I'll go as far as saying like fair men versus the women. No, I don't think that matters.
Correct. And you're right. Fair wasn't necessarily the correct terminology to use, but that's the one that came out of my
that's fine.
Cole.
All right. Seth Steinway says Paige said she was fine with it. Enough said. Let's be fair in that analysis, though. Too, I think there's very little that would audibly frustrate or upset Paige
after a win.
No, not just after a win, but I would say in the limelight of a DD-sponsored function. And I'm not saying Paige doesn't have her own opinions or Paige would never go against the grain of the company, but she very much backs and supports DD in almost every possible way that I can think of. So I'm not sure she's the ideal candidate if you're looking for a non-biased response either, as much as I value and appreciate her opinion. But yeah, DD butters her bread too.
Yeah.
So she certainly, if she hated it, I doubt she would say, I hate it and this event sucks because of it.
Yeah, she wouldn't say that in public. She might go to someone like a Doug Bjerkes or something and discuss it with him, but yeah, you're not going to get that out of Paige. Paige is very conscious of what she says in public, especially when it comes to something like this.
Now, when she complains to me, that's a different... Okay.
Well, yeah. She complains about you.
That too. I don't blame her. Flip Flat says, it's after midnight. Can I get a happy birthday from you two and maybe an Innova Ace golf disc? Not the classic Ace, but the driver Ace. You're out of luck on the disc, but an absolute happy birthday. Yeah, all day long.
Much as you're getting.
Yes. Come on now. We're on a budget too, you know. Think we just roll around with thousands of discs? Oh, okay. I have a few. All right, I'm going to go back, see, and read a few of the some of the notes that came in. Don Jalapeno, I love the login, Don. I'm a huge Jalapeno fan. How do you like being in the booth instead of walking the course? From a physicality standpoint, I missed walking around in the sense that I don't mind walking around a course. Of course, I'm not as excited about it if it's rainy or if I'm worried about our camera equipment getting destroyed or something like that. But the physical notion of walking around a course absolutely never bothered me. It's the other struggles and challenges that go along with being out there from an audio and from a technology side. Those are the ones that frustrated me. But being in a booth certainly had its advantages, and when it all worked well, I really enjoyed it.
We got pretty good with hand signals.
Yeah.
Because I was close enough where if I said something too loud, you'd be able to hear it on the broadcast. I was all of like 10 feet away from Terry and Robert. And so we were, I had to do a couple, give them some hand signals, like when we're going to switch, quiet.
There was a whiteboard that got used on Saturday at least a little bit, or Friday.
There was a whiteboard. Finally, I gave Terry a mute button if he needed it. I gave him that on Sunday so he could do it. All the graphics were run by Terry and Robert, mostly Terry, and maybe Robert stepped in once or twice to do all those little player graphics.
Some of the lower thirds, the scorecards, some of that stuff.
Courtesy of UDisc. So that was awfully nice. It was a whole different experience.
It really was, and a lot of people can say, well, there was the booth experience that we had from Jonesboro that still was significantly different from the booth experience we had here, and that was because of, as Johnny just said or mentioned, we were physically in the same room. And as opposed to the Jonesboro event, when Sean and Corey, thank you. I was going to call him by his nickname, but when Sean and Corey were in San Francisco, Johnny was in Milwaukee, and we were in Jonesboro as the crew. Again, technology, setups, a few advantages, some disadvantages, all of those types of things were in play. Here, having you and I and Robert within arm's reach of one another provided a few, by and large, advantages, but also a couple disadvantages even in that. Normally, Johnny is telling the cameraman and myself, who's on site, he's helping direct them a little bit about whose camera is hot or whose camera is on or who he's using at that point. In being on site and me being in the same room as him, he was challenged by that slightly because he couldn't just speak at normal volume and do what he needed to do because he was worried about interrupting the audio that we were trying to push out to be on the actual video. So short answer, long answer, long, I guess is a better way to say it. Lots of advantages, certainly some disadvantages. Overall, we enjoyed it. And if it were to happen again, we would probably go back to more of a quote-unquote Jonesboro-like mentality of, an off-site booth location and Johnny back in Milwaukee. Johnny will rarely be on site due to logistical challenges in the future. So we'll see how it goes.
It's a true statement.
Seth from the Pro Tour says, how was it to go out G2O in the booth? Gary to the O.
Gary to the O.
Without Gary to the O in the booth.
It was, as Terry said, it was a little different because I was quieter than I normally am in the booth because I was so close to you. Normally, I have Gio sitting where Terry is doing graphics. I'll mute the phone so the guys in the cameras and Terry on site doesn't hear me, and Gio and I will chat, and we'll We'll mock people. We'll make fun of people missing putts. We'll do all sorts of fun stuff. And then I unmute, and we're professional again. Mostly. I had to wait until usually we were playing like an asset or something, or a commercial, a DD commercial, before I could speak. And it really, I wouldn't say it limited me in any way. It was just a different experience. So, but I missed Gary. He was there at GBO. I got enough of Gary.
Yeah, it was fun. And with that being said, of course, thank you so much, Gary to the O, who came down from Milwaukee, Chad Inman, who ultimately came down from Madison, Wisconsin, who's a regular as one of our cameramen, and then Rick Hushane, who came in from Connecticut. So that was the crew, myself and Johnny, and then, of course, Robert McCall, who was so great, as he always is, in the booth. And it was just a real pleasure to be able to work with all of those guys for the whole weekend. It was a really good time.
I'm going to reiterate what a few people on the board say. Jeremy Stewart, the dude, Chris Young. I thought that this was one of our best broadcasts that we have put out. There wasn't the number of graphics that we've had in the past, because when Gio sits here, he puts up a graphic for almost every shot.
Sure.
And at one point, Terry would push a graphic, and I think he did a celebration laugh.
Like, heck yeah, I remember.
I remembered to do it. But there was two really great competitions going on. And I'm talking about the broadcast we did just on Saturday. There was two really great competitions going on. We were able to seamlessly flow back and forth between the two of them. We were pretty fortunate in that they weren't always going on side by side, that you could flip over. Watching, we had two basket hits. We had one on the FPO and one on the MPO. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely exciting, even for me, who normally is kind of ignoring the golf and I don't get really too excited. It was fun watching Robert McCall. You kind of feel like, I think if I were on the other side, I would think, oh, Robert is kind of playing it up a little bit. He wasn't at all. Like, Robert was genuinely excited. He was amazed at some of the shots these guys were throwing. It was definitely one of my favorite broadcasts we've put on that particular day.
Yeah. And exactly what we've talked about in the past. Some people say, well, we'd really love more cameras out there, and then you can cut to all this different footage and all these different people out there. And there were a number of times throughout the weekend, although we had two cameras on one card and one camera on the women, or on a second card during the first day, there's a number of times where the people we're featuring are walking down a fairway, not throwing shots, and the other camera that we can also cut to had people walking down a fairway, not throwing shots. And it just proves that we're a long way away from the ESPN or Golf Channel model of 3 to 6 cameras on every single hole times 18 holes, where they always have stuff that they can cut to and previous shots and all this other stuff. The reality is we're still not in a position where we're always going to have that opportunity. And so we realize there's still a real challenge there, that sometimes just golf's not being thrown, or sometimes your FPO feature group and your MPO feature group could both be at a backup. And then you got to improvise and come up with another solution or another idea to try and push the broadcast through that. So no matter what, there's always going to be these challenges, but it seems like we can kind of incrementally work on or past them as we go. So it's a lot of fun.
I was saying, what wasn't fun? I told you this on the phone today. Coming home after a 10-hour drive or 10-plus hour drive from GBO, I dropped you off, switched cars as my car was at your place, drove home, went to park in the garage, opened the garage door, got out, walked out with my luggage, hit the close garage door button, and this is just at midnight. The garage door comes down. I hear a little clank. It hits the ground and goes right back up. And I'm like, well, that was weird. I tried again. It comes down and goes right back up.
Like a Drew Gibson ace run.
Like a Drew Gibson
right
ace
on
run.
in and right back out.
Hey-o. I was very upset that at midnight I had to deal with a broken garage door. So I ended up having to unhook things and close it manually and rehook it up. And today I had someone come out and replace some brackets and cabling. And they greased it all up and oiled it all up. And I got it all fixed. But That wasn't what I wanted to deal with at midnight.
I'm just shocked you didn't call me over for my mechanical prowess.
Yeah, I thought about calling our good friend in Smashy in Illinois.
Dan Harback, yes, Dan.
But no, I didn't. I ended up just today. The guy came and just swapped out some parts, fixed some cabling, and I was able to park back in my garage without having any problems.
Couple quick questions. Someone had said earlier something about me having a bad hair day. No. Well, no. I have decided in all craziness that finally the motorcycle that I haven't ridden on or driven in not quite a decade, but in a long time has been fully updated. What's the word? Tuned up. That's the word I'm looking for. Tuned up. It had some issue with it a while ago. So during the off season, there was a little tune up given to it. And with that, I was able to actually go out, ride it around for a little bit yesterday. And then today, I was able to drive it around as well. And we've been blessed with some really ridiculously nice weather here for the first time really of the year, it feels like, at least that I've been able to partake in. And so I ended up riding my motorcycle over here to Johnny's. Anybody want to take a guess as to what it is? That could be a entertaining set of guesses.
What are they guessing?
What kind of motorcycle? Because there's a lot of people that are, I think, peg me for one particular, we'll say, style or another. So anyway, that's why I'm wearing a hat, because I do wear a helmet. And the second I take off my helmet, my hair's not studio quality. So that's answers that. There's a long story for that one. And speaking of which, though, since no one will really ever guess this, my license plate, you can have 5 characters in Wisconsin. My license has not been renewed since 2010. And my license plate says AVR on it. That was what I got many years ago. Then again, 2010, how many disc golf companies even were there? There were less. And
many less.
I was very much always a AVR thrower and fan. So AVR, and I was going to look into it. The license plate on my car says DG/guy or DG space guy. That's all. That's 5 letters. I don't know if I can get it also on my motorcycle, but if I can, I know what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm going to get a new plate that will then be DG guy. But I don't know if they'll issue the same plate. Maybe somebody in Wisconsin knows this. Will they issue the same plate?
If it's DG space guy versus DG guy.
Well, or at all. Will they issue the same plate, though, for a car in Wisconsin as they will for a motorcycle? That's the question.
I know.
I'm going to find out. And if not, what do I get if it's not DG guy? I don't know. All right. So what are some of the Harley Roadster GSXR?
I heard Drew Gibson's actually going to take your DG guy license plate and make it his new logo.
He should. Harley Sportster, a Goldwing, an Indian, definitely a street bike, not a cruiser. A Kawasaki Vulcan, like a Hayabusa, or maybe a Ninja. Seth says it's pouring in Appleton. Hopefully you stayed dry. Yeah, I was concerned about that. He's got a Norton. I don't even know what bike that is, which tells you how much I know about bikes. All right.
Just tell everyone what it is. No one's going to guess.
Honda VTX 1800. It is a
no.
Yeah, it's a Ninja. No, it's a Katana. Just kidding. I was trying to think of all the different blades and people. It's a Katana 600. It's from 1994, and more impressively, less than 10,000 miles.
Yeah, that shows how much you drive it.
Yes. All right. Let's do a giveaway.
We've
got some sweet action for you guys.
I believe earlier, Dion asked if it was hard to keep up with all the action between the MPO and FPO, switching back and forth.
Yeah, short answer is yes. And for those that maybe didn't pick up on it, I very much had Robert doing a lot of the shot calling. He's a shot caller for sure, especially in the hip hop game. I had Robert doing a lot of that, and I found myself paying more attention to try and look at the UDisc scores, to try and consume and just assemble anything using what we were finding from UDisc. It was tough. It was really tough because you had all of this action taking place live on the women's side, and then we had these two different storylines going on, plus you have chase cards and third cards and 10th cards and hot rounds and all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on and a lot of moving parts. When we splice in the women's footage, of course, I have seen it on UDisc. I've then taken the shot-by-shot footage, I edit it together, and then I commentate over it, and obviously that's what's spit out for you guys. So I've seen it once or twice by then when it's happening. On this side, when it's all unfolding live and you're trying to keep track, I'm honestly shocked I didn't screw up more names. I think I only did it the once. There's a lot of moving parts going on there. And yeah, you have the luxury of, we'll say, sitting in a studio in an air-conditioned or a comfortable studio setting, but there's still a ton of moving parts. And it's still mentally challenging when knowing when we have to cut to a shot, or you're, trying to get something accomplished, or whether we're going to go to a commercial next, or we're going to go to a different screen, and then try to coherently follow along with what Robert is giving you guys, but then to also try and follow along on my own end. It's mentally taxing. There's a lot of things going on our end.
To be fair, we can show people, if you look, now this is kind of a because I'm showing you more or less if you look here in the upper left-hand corner, it's kind of multiplying itself, but this is what Terry sees, kind of. The two big screens on the top and the right are input and output, the things that we're going to go live. And on the bottom, you see the 8 squares. Those are all the different cameras and shots that we have. So it's a lot to watch at any given time. And it's kind of crazy being able to see all that.
Yeah, and certainly not complaining.
No, it's pretty cool.
There is mentally a lot of things going on there. And it's really funny because you think, well, it should be easier. You're in the booth versus being on the course. On the course, I'm worried about just as many, if not more things, just maybe in a different way. And I've got more voices in my ears. And I only have one good ear because I'm deaf in one ear. So, again, pros and cons overall. So,
yes, we were at the DD warehouse for the studio. All right, so let's do a giveaway. As we normally do, we're gonna find a way to pick a number. What should we pick?
Let's go with 2. Eagles won 2 NTs. He's played in 2 NTs and he's won 2 NTs. I would have said 16 because it was such an impactful number this weekend, but we don't. I don't think we want to go through 16
All right,
numbers.
so between numbers 1 and 185, which is the number of patrons, we have. I have sorted the patrons by their email address.
What?
Just randomly sorted by year. All right, so the first number is 162. The second number is 27. So we're going to scroll up to 27. So it's someone probably at the beginning of the alphabet, I would guess.
Maybe.
Carl Davis.
A new guy.
Carl Davis. Thank you, Carl. We appreciate your Patreon support. I got to meet at least 4 or 5 patrons this past week at GBO, and I thank them all profusely because it's because of you guys that we're able to do stuff like this. So we will get you something in sometime.
Somewhere, somehow. And there's a great follow-up there. For the first time in 16, 18 years-ish, I have a full-blown, 100% legitimate email problem.
Oh, yeah.
In that I've had prodiscgolfer.com as a domain. I think maybe it's 2001, whatever. I registered the domain forever ago. At one point, I had a written blog, believe it or not, from our travels. Used to post pictures and all sorts of funny stories from every weekend. Those were some funny days. But in a transition that I was in terms of switching my stuff over to being on Google and some other stuff, Johnny V coaxed me into. My domain had expired. Well, not my domain. My service expired. My hosting service expired, although my domain was good for the next few years yet. To make a long story long, my email's not working, and it feels weird. I have other email accounts I can use to mail out to people, and anyone I would be emailing, I can certainly call, but I feel really uncomfortable about the emails that have bounced. in the last few days. And of course, I'm not even going to know who they are. Well, except for one of them. Steve Hill reached out to me and he's like, did your email change? Because I wanted to send you the director's poll, so you could. I was like, no, it didn't change. It's just going to be down.
When is it going to fix?
Literally any day or minute now.
Because you transferred over the service and you're just waiting for it to propagate.
And they said 1 to 5 days.
It's usually 2.
Well, it's been more than 1, less than 2.
It's usually about 2 days for everything to get transferred over.
I doubt any of you have emailed me, but if you have, email me in another day or two, and we'll get you taken care of. So, Johnny, yeah, go ahead and send that to me.
I'm going to. I got your bounce that we tested on the drive back from GBO when you were figuring out how your email wasn't working.
What had happened is they sent me some notification on the 26th saying, we're going to cut you off from your old host. And I'm like, no big deal. I've got everything moved over. Well, I didn't have everything moved over.
Have the DNS
so
moved.
As of the 27th and on, I've received no emails, which is very abnormal. So that's how we figured it out. And I've been working with Tony over at Sail On Technologies. And Tony, thank you so much for your help. If you need hosting or web services and assistance, Tony is a disc golfer, and Tony will help. So Tony's also one of our greatest Patreon supporters as well. So for that, we appreciate it. I was going to try and find his exact website so that I know. Sail On. Reach out to me. I'll hook you up. So, Luke, you have emailed me. I think we exchanged messages, though. Luke, didn't we follow back up? The good news is if anybody doesn't get a hold of me via Facebook or email these days, Facebook is certainly probably even a better alternative. So, not a problem. Why can't you just forward your mail to another account? Because I can't get access to the control panel because they're no longer my host anymore. So I'm not even able to get in there anymore to have it forward.
You couldn't even anyway.
In this limbo. Yeah,
because your host cut off your DNS. Technically right now when the email goes to prodiscgolfer.com, that DNS is shut off, so no computer on the internet in theory knows where to send that email. So even if you forwarded it, it's not getting to the point where it needs to forward. But thankfully, like you said, Tony's going to take care of that. That DNS should move over and propagate within the next, hopefully, 12 hours.
Hopefully.
I know these things. I'm an IT guy.
All right. Luke Hainwell asked, thank you, asked a pretty pointed, specific question to me saying, any thoughts about the Greater Milwaukee Opening happening this weekend and not being involved for the first time in forever? Any personal attachment feelings to work through? Yes. I don't think I have any feelings now that I still need to work through, but for those that don't know, forever, dating back to the mid-90s when I played in my first Rumbletown Classic. There's been a big tournament in Milwaukee. It was called for many years called the Rumbletown Classic. I played in it in like 94, 95-ish as a high schooler. I came down to Milwaukee and played in it. And then for many years, it was run as a great B tier. They got to an A tier status when the likes of Cam Todd and Leslie Todd and Mike Worm Young were here. Iqbal Jahan, Des and Jay Redding stayed at our place. Like, it became a really significant A tier into the early 2000s. I'm just going to take a wild stab right around 2002 or 3-ish. It was turned over to another gentleman who decided to run it. He ran it as the Milwaukee Open for a single year. It was a B tier. He ran it for that 1 year, and then it fell off from there. And then at that point, I had taken it over. That might have been actually 2005, 2006-ish. I then ran it for the next 10, 11, 12-ish years. And it's just been one of the staples as one of the B tiers that I've run. I ran it as an A tier. I recall 1 or 2 of those years even. And this year at the beginning, well, I should say at the end of last year, I again took a look at my schedule and I said, I'm finding myself contracted to go cover Pro Tour events. I can't run be at SmashBoxx during a Pro Tour event and run a B tier or an A tier. And for those reasons, I've eventually handed off most of my tournament director obligations and or duties or events to a number of other people throughout the years. And this last year was a big one because I gave away 2 or 3 big tournaments that I had been in control of, but not able to keep up with the energy and effort because I was so distracted. So Kevin Reinders over at Pandemonium Disc, many of you know them, had taken it over. I offered it to him, and I believe they got a great sold-out crowd for this weekend in Milwaukee at the 2 courses. So, yeah, it's a little bittersweet. It's for the right reasons, and sure enough, I'm contracted this weekend to go film in the U.S. Masters event, the Tim Selinsky event, which I'm honored to be at. And I feel like my services and or commitment to the game right now is better served by me going and filming and doing what I do on that side for a weekend rather than running a B-tier event that I know somebody else is going to run really well. So, yes, I hope that was a logical answer for you. DN Arlen asked about Junebug, as in Brad Hammock. He's appeared. He's been on the bag caddying, and then last year at was it Pro Masters Worlds?
He was at Pro Worlds last year. Yeah,
he was caddying, I think, during
caddying
that.
For Pro
and
Worlds.
At Pro Masters Worlds in Michigan, he was competing. I don't see him on the registration list for the Tim Selinsky event this weekend. But I'll do a quick look for you. No, he's not competing at the Tim Selinsky. He may or may not be in Kansas City at the Pro Masters Worlds later in the year. That wouldn't surprise me. Jeremy asks, what's the difference between a B tier and A tier? Does it involve amount added to the pro purse? Please elaborate.
That is part of it.
That's the largest part of it.
Correct.
In my opinion.
In order to be an A tier, you need to add X amount of money. A B tier, I think is it 1,000, and then B tier's 500 now.
No, B tiers are at least $500 added to the pro purses, and I don't know if A tiers are $1,500 or $2,000 or $2,500. It's substantial.
Okay, it's a substantial jump from there. So that is the main distinguisher. On top of being having.
You have to play at least 54 holes as well.
Correct. And the PDGA isn't going to hand out just an A tier, even if you walk up and say, hey, I have all this money, I have these courses. You are going to have to run a B tier. It is an established event as well, an A tier is, or at least someone who has run established events.
And then another strong consideration, well, you have to be ready and willing to put it on the calendar, back in like October, November-ish time frame. And then also, besides the money, the added cash, besides the minimum of 54 holes, there was one other big one that all competitors, excuse me, all competitors must be current PDGA members, and for that reason alone, a lot of events that may have A tier quality or A tier qualifications may say, well, I don't want to force people to be PDGA members. Therefore, we're going to remain as a B tier. I mean, some have that mentality at least. So everyone must be a current PDGA member in order to compete in an A tier event. So hope that helps you. Ryan Pilcher says he's going to be playing Saturday. Good luck, Ryan, or this weekend. Good luck. Have fun. And it was great seeing you, Ryan, one of our favorite Smashies out there, also one of our most local Smashies. But Ryan, thank you for the beverages, and thank you for being out there this weekend. Hopefully you enjoyed your time. Yes, Skyline was a mess. Yeah, it was a mess winter-wise a few weeks ago. You're absolutely right on that. I got a message from Matt Kruger that just said, I had said, was there a situation where someone was stroked for slow play? And I had asked about the people in question, Nico and Philo, and he got back to me saying Nico. So for what that's worth, there's a clarification on that end. That I think goes along further with the story that was talked about earlier.
There were some talks this past week about the PDGA and Ken Climo and his stats. And people were all up in arms about it. I completely forgot about it until Don here says, do you think that PDGA membership that if you're in the Disc Golf Hall of Fame, should your PDGA membership renew automatically? Somebody asked about world champions, that same question, and I was anti-world champion.
In that
I don't think that just because you win a world championship, you should be a PDGA member for life.
Be granted a PDGA membership.
Because we have so many world champions, whether it's AM or Junior, Pro, or MPO, FPO, MPO 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, whatever. Now, you want to narrow that down to Hall of Fame members. I think that's cool, but the Hall of Fame and the PDGA are two separate things. They
totally separate entities.
They are not in cahoots.
They work together.
But
one is not run or administered by the other at all, or in that way. They collaborate and they will work together, but they are separate entities, and that was by design of the original Hall of Fame initiation.
Correct. So there was some discussion about the fact that people can't look up Ken Climo's current rating. They can't look up, it's not easily found how much money he's won. More or less the basic statistics when you go to a PDGA members page. Someone went out there, I believe it was fake PDGA, went out there and re-registered him, which is a whole nother discussion about whether someone should be able to re-register you without your consent, but we won't get into that. And now people can do that. My big take was take Climo off the board. Let's just say Paul Macbeth decides not to register next year.
He's broke his arm.
Decides he's going to take a year off to heal up, and I'm not going to bother with the PDGA. He would never do that, but let's just say he did. You can still go out and find all of his stats. You just have to dig for them.
Just have to work harder.
You have to know where he played, when he played, go through the years. It's a good spot to start with Worlds for Kenny or Paul, and you'll definitely find them. So the fact that it wasn't out there, I don't think was a huge issue, but I'll give a shout out to the person whoever runs fake PDGA.
Or whomever ultimately renewed him. Now,
and to put this in perspective, a lifetime PDGA membership is about $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be a lifetime member, you can pay $2,000 and you never have to think about it again. I can't imagine they get a lot of them, but
no, there's only a handful of them.
There's only a handful of them. So the Hall of Fame isn't going to do that. Just
correct.
Now, if the PDGA wanted to grant that to Hall of Fame members, that could happen. But there are people in the Hall of Fame. There could be people in the Hall of Fame who are never PDGA members.
Absolutely.
Volunteers, coordinators, not state coordinators, but regional coordinators, things of that nature. I don't believe that is the case. I think at one point they were probably all PDGA members. Maybe not current. There's probably a few out there, some of the earlier ones that aren't current. But should they be? I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but
it was an interesting conversation. And Dion Arlen out on the board is saying, stats should be a members only link. Oh, only if you get a members only jacket. I think those should be issued. But anyway, and then he says disc golf history shouldn't be dependent on people being current. I think that's where Johnny and I agree with. The argument is the history's all there. You just have to go work for it. If you want to do some kind of statistical analysis or breakdown or whatever of someone else's statistics, right now, you can go get all of those for Ken Climo. It will just be a very long, tedious, meticulous, challenging task to do it. It's not like his stats don't exist or they're wiped off the record books. They're just not accessible for everyone in a concise, easy place.
The only thing you can't get is rating. Unless you know the formula for the rating, but
yeah, no one knows.
But no one really knows that. And like anything associated with the rating, you could find out how much money he's won by adding up all of his tournaments. You could find out how many years he's been in the PDGA. You could count up the number of wins. You can go through all of that. It's just not easily accessible.
And I know if Chuck Kennedy were out there, which he'll at some point I'm sure hear and I'm sure he said at one time or another, I know they have discussed the idea of making some of this stuff accessible for people that have departed, for people that have passed on, and
I think that's
which is I think is a totally different discussion, but it's still worth having. That if someone is no longer with us, to then find a way to mark or denote, and some of this is just technology based right now. Let me be very clear. I've been in on those meetings. The database, the PDGA database, has undergone a lot of different, we'll say, looks and or capabilities. And a lot of stats and stuff in UDisc make things look easy now. It's not as clean and concise as as 25 years ago when this database in some capacity was even being created. So there is a technology component that's attached to all of this as well. Do I think in 5 or 10 years, you're going to be able to go out and see statistics and data for someone that is no longer with us? I think you will be able to. I think there will be a flag flipped in the database or something that indicates that, okay, from here on out, this can be shown and or denoted in some capacity.
And I don't know. We'd have to talk to Matt. Hold on. Go ahead, Terry. We'd have to. Do you want me to unmute you there? No, you're unmuted. We'd have to talk to Matt from UDisc, but there's an argument to be made about, like, let's just take GBO. All the information that was just gathered at GBO, does the PDGA get a copy of that? Do they? I mean, that's, and I'm sure it's stuff they've all worked out. I'm sure that they know. UDisc, say something happens to UDisc, and it just decides to go away. That information is all gone. I don't know what the right answer is. Should UDisc be providing the PDGA a copy of all the rounds that they can they? And this might be happening in the back end. That, guess what? Just like live scoring, maybe somehow they're inputting all of this into the PDGA. Maybe they're not. I don't know. It's not my determination to say one way or the other who should own the particular data that people are creating with UDisc for the national tour events or worlds.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions that I'm sure could be asked of people that would even know or want to do anything with that data. Yeah, that's a good question. The dude out on the board says Steady Ed is current. I wonder if anyone is paying for that. And Steady Ed's the example in my mind that kept coming up because I know somebody at one point had said, hey, should you be able to click on 001 and or look at any information that's populated that relates to his membership? And obviously he's maybe the greatest example of someone that you might want to make accessible. So that's good. There's some PDGA questions in there with some PDGA technology and historians that would have to probably more fully elaborate on what we're talking about here. Dad's Drunk says, disc golf stats should be easier to obtain, period. I did a lot of research on a few things recently. It was so time consuming. I can find basketball career stats and even advanced analytics in seconds. I would say you're talking about worlds of difference in terms of money, technology, and just sheer manpower. For starters, a lot of detailed statistics, there haven't been that many putting percentages weren't even really a thing now until a couple years ago when UDisc came along. And I know Chuck Kennedy created something, but it didn't take the way UDisc has. Stuff like that, I think that's what you were alluding to. It's interesting to wonder whose data is that, and let's say UDisc owns it. To what degree does UDisc have to share it?
That's what we were just discussing.
I mean, I think about the NBA that has umpteen hundred employees and what they deal, and obviously umpteen $1 billion as an industry. I'm not sure it's fair to compare the major pro sports networks with where we're at, because we're just simply not there with resources and finances yet. 20 or 30 or 50 years from now, it's going to be, I think the conversation will be worded very differently, but right now we're just not there. I don't know who should be collecting those stats and then who should have access to them and then what they're going to do with them. I mean, there is definitely Dad's Drunk, for instance, I'll use you just as an example, or Johnny V with fantasy stuff. If somebody is profiting off of the data that's out there, I think that brings in a totally different component. And let's just say you were creating the greatest wagering betting website on the planet for disc golf. Should you just have access to all the other stats that are being generated so that you can then go create a profitable side business with it? I think those are some of the things that all come to mind. So, all right. No, Ken Climo has not been on the show. As we've said before, he has poker night on Tuesday nights. But it would be great to somehow break. Maybe we can get a separate interview with him on another night, and then we can feed it in. That's something we've considered throughout the years. It's clearly way overdue to have him. So, Matt Pipke says, I think certain very iconic former players and players still with us, like Kenny, Dave Donape, Steady, should be given consideration so they're renewed, auto, and available. Again, there's
what
no, is that subjectivity?
Yeah,
and just like our world champions, because as soon as you have MPO and FPO, the argument's going to be, well, what about masters? What about pro masters? What about AM masters? What about female? People that there's just, you're opening a can of worms. That's tough to ever say, well, I subjectively think this person should have. And should they have an auto membership, or should they just have their stats available?
I don't know.
And is there something to be said about the premium that's placed on being a current member? I mean, I think that's part of the reason why the PDGA...
We're a lifetime sport.
The PDGA blocks or withholds that or doesn't display it, because that's one of the incentives to being a current member, is your statistics are available. That's one of the main benefits.
Yep, it is.
Did Drew talk about the OB call on Eagle? Yes, he did. We certainly asked him. So definitely rewind, go take a look at that. Dad's Drunk, I think earlier you had said something about a week or two ago. You said how you had said Eagle's the best player right now, and that we disagreed with you, and that 1 week doesn't make a difference, but over 8 weeks does it. Certainly.
I still don't think he's the best player. I still think it's, right now, I think it's Ricky.
Okay.
I just think Ricky is has proven to be more consistent. It's hard to argue that Eagle might not be number 2 or 3 right now, but I will still back Ricky Wysocki. I think is the best player that we have in our game right now. But yeah, you could very easily tell me that Eagle's probably our second best person playing right now, and I could not argue with that.
Ali Axmark, who I know comes in from overseas, says one of the Swedish great ones, Jesper Lundmark, was out of the stats for a bit. That was sad. Sure. Tell him to renew. And if you really want to see his stats, renew his membership for him. Here's another thing. Just throwing it out there. What if somebody doesn't want their stats out there?
I wish I could take some of my stats away.
What if you were claiming disability? I'm just going to go out on a limb. You were claiming disability for 4 straight years, BSing or screwing somebody over when maybe it was totally not legal or appropriate for you to be doing so. But really, you just went on tour for 4 years. All your stats are out there, and some guy with half a brain can go out and find all of your information out there. Like, maybe you don't want to be renewed. Maybe there's some other story to it. I don't know. Is that public information, or is that your own information? I think I don't know. I guess you're kind of giving it to the PDGA when you're playing in that event.
You are.
So, just throwing one guy, and that somewhat example comes from a place where I once got called by an insurance claims arbitrator, adjuster type person, and said, I think it was early days of Disc Golf Scene. I'm looking at Disc Golf Scene and did so and so compete on Wednesday nights in your league for these nights. I was like, I think I said something like, is there a score posted for them? Yeah, their name is listed, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that means they competed. Okay. Like they were, because this person had a back injury, surgery, whatever it was.
Probably taking workers' comp of some sort.
Exactly. So
that's pretty funny.
That was a terrible example, Dion. That's fine if you don't like it, but I'm just saying. Maybe some. What if you're anti-PDGA? You hate the PDGA, and you have vowed.
You don't.
I am never giving you another dollar. I'm not renewing my membership. I don't care if my stats are available. Is that your protest of sorts?
Sure.
So should others be mad that they can't see your stats?
No.
Okay.
But then you can't be mad if the PDGA were to make those public either. They're the PDGA's numbers. So.
All right. When's the last time a DD sponsored player won the GBO?
MPO, of course, I think they're talking about because we know FPO. I have to assume it was EMAC.
I'm sure if you go to glassblownopen.com, which we're too lazy to do, but you could go out there and find all the previous champions.
Yeah. DD hasn't.
And yes, Saturday on the FPO side.
Yeah, DD hasn't sponsored a super successful, I'll put it that way, MPO player on tour other than Eric. We've got AJ Risley and Zach Melton. We've got a lot of guys up there right now that are playing well, but they haven't won the GBO, and they haven't. I'm willing to bet that's EMAC.
Yeah, and I know at one point there's a list somewhere that lists all Glass Blown Open winners. I know it was on the wall for many years in the store, even though I don't feel like I saw it this year. But yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look through that. Remember, at one point, Paul Ulibarri, Paul Macbeth, Katrina Allen were all sponsored by Dynamic Discs.
Yep, before DD was making their own plastic.
So,
discussion out there, Eagle versus Rick. Here's what I'll say. These courses we've played so far, the ones that Eagle has won, have truly favored his distance and distance accuracy. Call me in a couple weeks when he goes through Masters Cup, when he goes through Beaver State Fling, where you can't just, and I'm not saying he's going to play poorly at any of these, but when he gets through those two, we'll see where he's at and how he's finishing, because those will tell you if his game is favored, if the courses have helped him, or whether it's truly his skill. Now, Eagle has all the skills needed to win both those events. He's got a forehand, a backhand, but can he do it is the question. And again, right now, at this very moment, I'm still taking Ricky just by a hair, but that could change in 6 weeks.
We shall see. And I think what's great, assuming you're a fan of competition and not just necessarily a fanboy of any given one person, it's got to be great to see that we're seeing that much more diversity up top. And I know Eagles won the last two NTs, but just in general, Simon has won, Eagle has won. For many tournaments, I think others will back me up, it was either, okay, it's either going to be Ricky or it's going to be Paul. It's just one of those two. Like, hands down, almost every single weekend, one of those two is going to win. And I don't think we're saying that anymore.
No, right now it feels like we're saying one of four players, Ricky, Paul, Simon, Eagle. Those are the four right now that I think everybody is like, it's going to be one of those four. But again, not going to surprise me if someone else jumps up. If you see Drew Gibson win, if you see Joel Freeman, Double G, any of those players, Nate Doss, talk about consistent. The guy hasn't played a major event in a few months, steps on the course and takes top 10. Was he fifth? Seventh.
Maybe.
So it's, yeah. I want to see how the big throwers, and now it won't surprise me to see Simon win the MVP Open. He's living right there now. He's playing that course frequently. He's going to learn that one inside and out. So it's going to be an interesting year.
And then, of course, when we get to ultimately to Worlds in Vermont, where we've seen Ricky Iwasaki destroy that course year after year at the Green Mountain Championships. And what is that going to mean?
Doss won there.
And Doss won this last year, and then the 3 or 4 years before that, Ricky Iwasaki. So, yeah, it's anything's possible. We shall see. A question that I had was, did you guys, it is what it is, but did you like and or consume the Q&A panel? Is that something that you guys find value in? I'm biased in that, we can give it to you live, but that's also, I feel like, something completely applicable to go out and watch anytime you want. You could watch it anytime in the next year or in 5 years from now. And I personally still think there's value. I guess I'd be curious, how many of you watched it live, and did it matter? Do you feel like it matters if you watch it live or not? Do you like that it's available and that it's there? And how was it for you? That's what I'd like to know out there. And then I'd go as far as, and I don't think no matter what you say, will we change, but I'd go as far as saying the same thing on the players meeting. Did any of you find it neat or interesting or insightful, even if you weren't playing there? I mean, of course, we know some players like, I don't need to go anywhere. I'm just going to sit here and watch it from my RV, which I think was great. But how many of you consumed it otherwise, and did you find any value of it? Don Jalapeno says, wished you would have turned the camera around to see some of the fun action the players were having. They were sitting there in a chair.
Yeah, basically.
Don, sorry, but they were.
Yeah, the people that were sitting there were just sitting there watching, just like you were at your house. It was watching Ricky abuse that tablecloth was kind of funny. But ultimately, I like the Q&A. I think they're great to have. It's a good kind of record of history. You can always go back and watch them. There's copies. I think the last couple of years have all been on our webpage somewhere, so you can go back there. DD might have a copy of those. I'm not positive, but you can always go back and look at the different Q&As.
Johnny Blaze 10 says, spoiler, I haven't seen it yet. Well, good thing I don't remember a single question from it, so I can't spoil anything.
I just remember the health question, the one that they asked about fitness, because I remember Simon, what he said, and I was like, I don't think that's... I don't think that's in line with what your sponsors want you to say after going through that winter training. But that's Simon for you.
Seth said he watched it the night that he got home later, so he didn't have to watch it live. Which I do. Again, to me it was timeless, and that hopefully you guys can enjoy it at any point. The live in the bags are great. Seeing what pros are throwing at that particular course is interesting. Many pros have said doing it in the bag makes no sense because bags change so much. Doing it live is so smart. I think that makes sense. The question is, will you remember and or associate it then? Do you have to save off that clip? I think Jomez has been doing them live right before the round. Do you then mark and bookmark or save that clip? And then when you go watch the footage later, do you say, okay, that's right, he threw that pink disc and he said in the bag that the pink one was his PD2, that's 175. Well, no, I'm being serious in a sense that I think they're great, but I admittedly also have a little bit of a in the bag chip on my shoulder conceptually, because let's be effing real, when Simon or Paul or Ricky or any other player in the top 100 throws a disc, it's not going to fly like how you throw it. And when they do throw a disc, that destroyer Macbeth's had in his bag for 4 years isn't like the destroyer you just bought off the shelf, just to use that as an example. So I understand sponsors and players want to let you know what they're throwing. Of course, that's just obvious marketing, and I'm not overly against that concept. But I think some people get a little too worked up and like, oh my gosh, did you see how that T-bird flew for him? Yeah, guess what? He's the best in the world. That's why it flew like that for him.
I believe that the courses like doing a quick in the bag before a round is the best idea personally. I mean, I don't mind the in the bags that people do yearly or every other year. But getting to know someone and saying, "Hey, we're here at the country club. How does your bag differ this event? Did you bring in more stable plastic because it's Kansas? Do you have more flippy plastic because you want more distance out on these courses? What changed in your bag, if anything, or do you just stick with the same 18 pieces of plastic?" So that's what I would more so like to see.
Dion says, "You're right, Terry. You are so right." Thanks, Dion. I knew I liked you. Dad's Drunk says, "People love to see what the pros throw. To be real, rec bags are always nicer than pros. Disc-wise, the average rec or intermediate player has nicer discs than the average pros." Yeah, that's because not smart people think, "Oh, if I spend $199 on this OOP third run, flat top, star stamp destroyer, I'm going to now throw it like Paul Macbeth."
Stamp,
yeah, thank you. I forgot bottom stamp with a misprint on top. Wow.
That was
clearly I'm going to throw it better.
It was a first burst, too. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, a burst for the wrong company. Exactly. It's just, I've made the joke countless times, and you guys can steal it. If your bag is worth more than your player rating, you're doing it effing wrong. And there are too many people out there that get way too worked up on buying a specific piece of plastic. I need the 2016 Firebirds, Sexton Firebirds, and I'm going to pay $300 for one because it's really going to help my game. You know, I'm rated 710, so I need a Sexton stabled Firebird from 2016. No, you don't. You need to practice. Like, get good. Practice. Buying the piece of plastic isn't going to help you. All right, I'm all pissed off now.
Yeah, it's always fun to listen to Terry get wound up about AM golfers and their plastic
And it's not because I don't like amateur golf and I don't want you to get better, but it's the Indian, not the arrow. Whatever. Give me a break. But if you want to buy some of those overpriced discs, I have them available. So feel free when you're ready to buy that 16 Firebird from Nate Sexton's Firebird stash. I've got 100 of them just waiting for you to eat them up.
Ali X Mark says, "I still throw my buzz. First run from 2004. It's so good." I agree, Ali. I do really like those first run buzzes. I've got a stack of them in the closet over there. And that's where they're staying because they're worth too much to throw now for me. And I don't want to get rid of them because I'm greedy. So I've got a bunch of second runs and a couple 10 years and
All right. Looking for KP2s. Now it's going to turn into a disc swap meet here. And I'm not saying you can't have your favorite. Let me be clear.
Of course.
You can have your favorites. I understand there's a comfort level. I have them. Everybody can have them. But just be very clear. Just like going out and buying a $10,000 video camera doesn't make you automatically a good videographer in any way, or having the best editing software with the best footage still doesn't make you a premier. I don't mean literally premier. Doesn't make you the best editor in the world. It's great to have good tools, but you need to know how to use them. Everyone's talking about their discs. Most of my discs are 10 years old because I haven't lost them yet, and I think those are good discs as well. Anything you don't lose. I guess that's one advantage to being out at the country club, for instance. Other than 16, and hopefully not even there, but other than 16, you really shouldn't be losing any discs for the weekend.
No.
So
maybe 18 if you turn it over or you hit that tree and fall in the water.
Matt Pipke says, "I love the Doss's system. Throw the same bag forever." Yeah, I guess it seems to.
If it works for you, and it
you.
seems to work for him.
All right. I feel like we've covered pretty much everything.
Terry, that's true, Ryan Pilcher. Terry did lose a Wraith in Emporia.
Shush.
You can
lose my favorite. I'm going to pay $5 million to get another one.
And if you're a Patreon supporter, you can see where it landed on our Patreon. There's a link up there with some pictures from this past weekend at the GBO that we put up there and where Terry's Wraith ended up.
Yes, I aced the rain gutter like nobody, which unfortunately I totally forgot about. I think it was either last night I think it was last night at one point. I'm like, oh, that's right. I never really did. And not that I could retrieve it because I aced the rain gutter, but it was still there. I'm guessing no one got in there and somehow retrieved it either.
It didn't rain, so it wouldn't float.
Exactly. Good call, Dad's drunk. He says, I hold no attachment to any disc. I purposely sell any valuable disc I get as fast as possible. I wish I could sell every damn disc I own and start over. Terry, you played. Did you get a round in or just a few shots? I played very, very, very poorly, and which is funny because I was excited for a moment at that we played the Flint Hills C tier on Wednesday morning.
Wednesday
or Thursday?
Flint Hills Technical College.
Yes, and
the 2-disc challenge.
Yeah, where you it was a 9-hole course, so you took you got to throw obviously one drive, and then everybody else threw their one drive, and then you threw your second drive, and then you played them out. So as if you were playing 18 holes.
How did that go?
It didn't go good. It was not good.
How did it go for me?
Apparently well enough. Johnny V.
I got my first ProMaster win.
Yes.
I mean, to be fair, that is an easy course. That is wide open, other than I think one hole. You can just talk about a hyzer fest. You just throw hyzers at everyone. I threw some pretty good hyzers and hit a couple good putts. I ended up shooting a 987 rated, 11 under. And then the next day, when
it was pretty solid. Did you win that day too?
No, I didn't. I shot an 860 rated, I believe is what it was. It was more park golf. A lot more trees in my way that I found a lot of. And at some point then I just kind of started throwing for fun, which is never good to do at a C tier. That's going to count against your rating. But I did it.
It was all fun.
I went from first to last in 2 days. So first in the first event, last in the second event. But no, we did. We got to play some C tiers. We went out that first day with all of our guys from SmashBoxx, sponsored by SmashBoxx.
Mm-hmm,
we paid for our guys to go out and play because we never get a chance to do that.
So definitely a good time out there. And one thing that I have to go actually dig out and look for are the Caddy Games video. Of course, I heard them talking about it. I know there was some, it was a new thing introduced this year, and I'm super excited to go out and look for it and watch some of that action. Don Jalapeno says, when is SmashBoxx going to play versus CCDG or Jomez?
When they're not scared.
Yeah, they played against one another on Sunday. And maybe
the invite was in your email.
It went to my email. Yeah, the invite went to my email, which didn't work.
To be fair, I don't think we would have played Sunday anyway. We got on the road about noon, and like I said, didn't get home until 10. So I don't think we would have didn't get home until midnight for me.
It would have been yeah.
So we didn't really have a good chance.
I always have time to whip up on them, but
that's true.
We would have made time. But they didn't want a piece of this, so don't be scared. Okay, yes, we did have some fun. It's impossible not to have fun when you're at the Glass Blown Open.
I told this to almost everybody I ran into. If you want to enjoy golf, not necessarily your play, depending on the course you're playing, if you want to go and experience the most fun week you can have at a golf event, you go to GBO. There's no other event in our sport like it. Period. Like I used to feel that way about the Combined Worlds or AM Worlds, where you go and everyone's at a hotel. Emporia is where you want to go.
It is. If any of you are going to somehow be at the U.S. Masters this weekend, love to see you. We'll be out there, both Johnny and myself, be out there taking in some of the action, doing some filming and recording. I'll have some stuff available at the Fly Mart, I believe, on Thursday night. Some of you saw the release of the Tear Bear disc, so if you need any of that action, which I know you do, who doesn't?
Everybody needs a Tear Bear disc.
Okay, those will be available and out there. All right, guys, we are, guys and gals, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and call it. It's been a great night. I love all of the insight and feedback from everyone and continued discussion, because more than ever, we can argue about who is the best in our sport right now, and it's exciting to see and to think that it's only May 2nd right now. 1st. Well, now technically May 2nd. There's a lot of golf left this season. There's up-and-comers. There's people that haven't hit their stride. There's people that maybe never will, but we'll be excited to watch it all unfold throughout the rest of the year. So for Johnny V and Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, that's been SmashBoxx Podcast 193 After Show. We'll see you this weekend at the U.S. Masters, or we'll see you Tuesday night when you step inside the SmashBoxx.